Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first of two play-in weeks for the Aegis Guardians League. My name is Moose, and I'm joined here by Niarco. Niarco, how you doing today, sir?
I'm feeling fantastic. It's good to be back in the booth with you, Moose, and we have got a fantastic set of games this week and the coming week.
Exactly. It is going to be a very fun matchup and a very pivotal matchup for both the teams that are going to be on our featured series today. CWRU Spartan Shield is going to be facing off against Team Ambition Solstice for your featured matchup this week. Both teams able to barely scrape in to the play-ins, with the Spartan Shields being at the 5th seed in the Zon division, the Team Ambition Solstice the 6th seed, the very bottom seed, moving out of the Piltover division. These games are incredibly important. We've got the opportunity to be able to cast these for you today, but of course, this is only one of many many important games throughout the Aegean Guardians League. All of these teams and all the players that are within them are going to have to perform very well in their matches in order to get themselves not only into the playoffs, but good seeding moving into that 3 week period. Nyarko, any expectations or any kind of idea to, or like anything that you expect from these teams in play-ins? Like, what makes play-ins, I think, different than playoffs in your opinion?
Well, I think that given that both of these teams are coming near the bottom of the stack when it comes to entering into play-ins, I think that they're going to be very eager to kind of prove that they deserve to belong here in this league, and they want to send a message that they are going to drive themselves towards playoffs in a really confident manner. So, what I think that we're going to be expecting from both of these guys is just grabbing champions that are tied to the meta as it currently stands. I want to see adaptation. I want to see a willingness to play towards the champions that are generally strong right now. No more comfort picks, no more blind shots into the dark. I want confidence out of the draft phase, and I want confidence out of the game itself.
Exactly. And you did bring up something very important about this play. And before we get into the draft, which we will be about ready to start here momentarily, I want to bring up a graphic really quick, Smallcrim, as our producer, able to get us something here to talk about this 2 week play in throughout this series. If you take a look on your screen, you can see that we are using a gauntlet style play in match. Depending on your placements in the group stage, depending on where you start off in this gauntlet. So let me explain really quick how it works. The top two teams, or the top four teams, I should say, the top two teams from each division are in that light blue in the P1 and the P2 section. Those are your group ones in the best of three. Those light blue teams, those being Clown Gaming Gotham, Oasis Dream, Team Ambition Gambit, and Omega Gaming Apex, have confirmed their spot in the playoffs. Moving down the list in the dark blue section in the first week, you have Imperial Gaming versus Mint Rocky Road and Clown Gaming Aristocrats versus DGZ Arcadia. Those players didn't quite confirm their spot in the playoffs, but they are in a very strong position moving out of the group stage with a very good standing record moving into it. Now, as you move further down the list into the yellow, that is the danger zone. The four teams that are in the yellow side of this gauntlet bracket must win out in play-ins. They must win this week and they must win next week in order to confirm a spot in the playoffs. And as you can see, as you move into the second week and into the third week, depending on your record, depending on if you win or lose the series, determines where you are in the bracket, in these standings, and the better that you do in the play-ins gives you that chance to be able to have a better spot moving into the playoffs. So, for these two teams, for the Spartan Shields and Team Ambition Solstice, this is a must-win game. If you lose this game, you are eliminated first week in the play-ins. You definitely don't want to do that. So, with that being said, though, ton of great content coming up for you guys today, and we should be about ready to begin the draft very shortly. After we talked about the gauntlet style here for a little bit, Niarco, I want to kind of get your opinion on both of these teams. I know you've kind of filled in a little bit throughout the split as a color caster, but I mean, any any like thoughts about these two teams? Anything that you've done in your research so far? Maybe something that you're looking forward to from either one of these players or these teams, I should say.
Well, one of the things that really stood out to me as I was kind of doing a little bit of preliminary scouting is that you see a little bit of variation in the types of champions that these teams gravitate towards. And it's part of the reason why I brought up this concept of leaning away from base comfort picks that may not really gel with the meta and push more towards meta defining champions right now. Because Team Ambition Solstice come in with a pretty diverse set of champions that oftentimes slot neatly in to the game plans that people want to execute in the current meta game here. We see, for instance, the ADC really just dropping a ton of games onto champions like Jinx, like Zeri, like Caitlyn. And meanwhile, on the side of CWRU, we get people kind of gravitating a little bit more towards champions that are sort of comfort picks. And while they do have a presence in the meta, we see way more time devoted to one or two narrow champions, especially in a solo queue environment. So hopefully they'll be able to break kind of out of that habit, out of that mindset here on the competitive stage, especially with their livelihoods in this league in the balance here. We get the Caitlyn to start the picks off, and that is the kind of adaptation that I'm talking about right there. This is a champion that, while a little bit weaker than maybe the top tiers of ADCs, has a lot of really solid synergistic matchups that can turn the bot lane into a kill lane in favor of the blue side. If you can get something like a Lux on the table or a Morgana here, you have the ability to completely poke out some of these lower range champions coming through for the side of TAES, like that Nautilus, but they're going to go for the Thresh instead. Solid matchup, solid response as well. These are two tanky champions that really don't like hooking each other, and therefore they're able to kind of provide solid meat walls for their respective carries there in the bot lane role. Victor as well, grabbed for the side of TAS. I like this. One of the champions that we see FCG9 on quite a bit here is the Victor, and taking that out of the mid lane slot for CWRU is going to push them onto a separate pick, that being the Veigar.
And, with that being said, you brought up, I think, some pretty good points here about the drafting for both of these teams. If you look at the mid lane, FGC9 for Spartan Shields and Thunder McBuster for Team Ambition Solstice do have a very similar lineup of champions that they have a lot of games played on here in Season 12. The Victor, the Veigar, a little bit of LeBlanc, a little bit of Vex coming in as that kind of variety for both of these players. Kind of the same thing here for Brownie and for Sir Comet. Now, moving into this one, Team Ambition Solstice is using a sub in the support role. Brownie is coming in for Team Ambition Solstice here in this one. Does have a lot of ADC games, but can be playing that support, is playing the support today. Purple mid laner coming in for Spartan Shields as well. I don't know if that is a sub or if that's just something that they have gone through and the rosters haven't been adapted into the data logs, but regardless, wanted to bring that up because Purple mid laner, I don't think really has played a lot of games for Spartan Shields. Maybe he did later on in the split, but I couldn't tell you for sure. Now let's moving into the second phase of the draft. The Ornn is going to be banned out away from Purple mid laner. You've got also Diana, Grant Polly's one of his strongest jungle picks, not going to be available, as well as the Jhin and the Trundle. I think it's a very strong opportunity here for Team Ambition Solstice to ban out some of these high priority jungle picks. Grant Pally does play. He has a lot of games on the Shaco, a lot of games as the Diana, and also banning out that Xin Zhao means that he's going to be targeted here in game 1. Miss Fortune is going to be the R4 pick for Team Ambition Solstice.
I think that Miss Fortune is a solid choice here. It's not something that you see a lot at higher levels of play, but into a Caitlyn especially, who, besides the utilizations of traps and just getting a lot of space denial, isn't able to put down a ton of damage without proccing her passive and getting headshots off. I think that this is an easy way to kind of bully, get some poking, and solidly farm up there with relative safety, especially when you have a Nautilus tanking a lot of damage for you. I also like this Aurelia pick that rounded out the third choice for Team Ambition Solstice. It was something I didn't really get to touch on, but Niema has a lot of picks onto this champion, even in solo queue, and clearly this is something that they're comfortable on, while also it's a champion that can provide a lot of great pick potential and a lot of damage. It's very synergistic with champions like the Victor, because when you get someone caged up with Aurelia's ultimate, you're able to drop Chaos Storm, and they just simply cannot run away from that big angry electric ball. Shen Kane, the pickups for CWRU here. Shen, great map pressure and potential to really turn fights. It's going to be a huge knowledge check in working of macro for TAS in order for them to try to ensure that any ganks that go off will be done without Shen's interference. And Kane, just a great champion with a lot of flexibility here. I think given the fact that you already have the Thresh and Shen, you're relatively free to go for more assassin style build and go blue Kane here, especially because it'll be easy to pick off champions like the Misfortune and Victor because of it. Viego going to be the answer going into the jungle for Koleb 5. This is a more standard pick, I think. It's something that we see a lot more at all levels of play. Great dueling potential, incredible carry strengths as well. If you get those chain kills off and you begin to seal bodies, you have the ability to completely wreak havoc. And looking at the champions that CWRU possess, I think that this is a really exciting choice. Imagine getting Viego down, baby caging someone, and then with Vagar's body, and then Heartbreakering into that cage to just wombo combo the damage together. Similarly, that CC will also to help lock down champions that may be a little bit more slippery or staying in the backline like the Caitlyn.
And, looking now as we have the full completed drafts for both teams, you kind of pointed out the Viego. The Kane is kind of a surprising pickup. I think that Team Ambition Solstice did not ban out. It's one of those champions that Spartan Shields does have a lot of experience with. Grand Pally has played it and has several, is his third most played jungler in Season 12, so he does have a lot of comfort and experience with it, and so you are potentially able to get a lot of value out of Umbral Trespass. You should be able to land it onto a very immobile Misfortune, so really looking to see whether or not they can actually stay alive, especially, Jags trying to be able to use bullet time effectively, use the wombo combo that Solstice has created with the Vanguard's Edge and then the bullet time to be able to get massive damage in. You do kind of feel like it is a little bit countered now with the Shen. The Stand United Shield is going to be able to put in a lot of power if it is used correctly. You have to be able to land it. You have to be able to make it happen in order for you to block all of that damage. But if you do, you could potentially have enough time, save enough time, so that whoever's getting targeted, whether that be Flaming Shock or FGC9, is able to survive, able to get that carry damage in, and then you're able to turn that fight around. So for Team Ambition Solstice, it's going to be up to them to make sure that they do not let the Spartan Shields get good Stand Uniteds. Make sure that they back off of fights when they know that Stand United is going to be used. If they're in a bad situation, they don't need to continue to commit to stuff. Make sure that you don't give the Spartan Shields the chance to get ahead early. Blue Kane wants to get ahead early. Vigar, the more stacks he has, the more time that he has alone in the mid lane, the more powerful that he becomes. Same thing with the Caitlyn. The Caitlyn, if she's able to CS freely without any interference and gets kills, the snowball potential for Spartan Shields is going to be pretty impactful. So I think Solstice just needs to wait to get their champs online, move into the mid game with a very strong position, either even or just a little bit behind in gold. When the Victor, the Aurelia, and the Misfortune come online, I don't think that Spartan Shields are going to have enough damage to be able to combat them.
Yeah, for certain. There's a lot of different variables to really consider in this matchup, because each lane into itself is a pretty cool thing to talk about and focus upon. Aurelia there in the top side of the map against the Shen is a pretty classic matchup that we see a lot in solo queue here. These are champions that are really heavily favored right now due to the ability for them to just generally impact either via grouping or by splitting and getting global presence with the utilization of Stand United in the case of the Shen. And for purple mid laner, being put on such an impactful and important champion here, even though they're a little bit of an unknown variable just in terms of us not seeing them a whole lot in the Aegis Guardians League, is pretty interesting to me, just because it kind of speaks to the fact that the Spartan Shields have a lot of faith in this top laner to really make the plays and ensure that they don't fall behind. Meanwhile, I'm looking at Team Ambition and seeing the fact that they just have so many fantastic power spikes throughout the game, particularly when we see ultimates come through. Nautilus being able to dredge line forward, drop a depth charge onto someone, and then knock up and CC changes, leading to a fully channeled bullet time being dropped upon any of these champions can just be a disastrous beginning for the fight for CWRU. That's something to definitely watch out for. Similarly, Viego has great gank potential and will definitely be vying for control of the map alongside this Kane, who similarly, with that Umbral Trespass as you're talking about, has so much presence in every single lane. Vision's going to be a high priority. Fighting is going to be a higher priority, and I'm really looking forward to see how people navigate these neutral objectives in fights, especially throughout the early and mid game.
It's going to be a ton of fun, and I'm super excited to finally get into it. We got about 2 minutes remaining before the spectator delay is completed, and we can actually start this series where both these teams' playoffs have officially begun. If they lose here, they lose this series, it is over for their run in the Aegis Guardians League. With that being said, though, I do want to give you guys a little bit more insight onto the other matches that will be playing out through the Aegis Guardians League brackets. Clown Gaming Gotham is up against Oasis Dream, both 6-1 teams looking to be able to keep their chances of getting a first or second seed alive. They will need to beat each other in order to make that happen. I do believe that Clown Gaming is streaming that one on their channel. I don't know for sure. Also, Team Ambition Gambit going to go up against Omega Gaming Apex. That is also going to be, I think, another group that is going to be casting that Ambition matchup on their stream channel as well. Regardless of that, those are going to be very fun matchups for sure. Clown Gaming Aristocrats versus DGZ Arcadia, Imperial Gaming versus Mint Rocky Road are also on the bracket today. But one team that's not playing is Literal Monkeys Grass. They get the guaranteed win as their lineup, Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby, decided to forfeit here in the first round of play-ins. They are eliminated from the play-in bracket. With that being said, though, we got about 30 seconds before the spectator delay is completed. Don't go anywhere. Aegis Guardians League, game number 1 between TA Solstice and the Spartan Shields will be up momentarily. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We are now into game number one between the Spartan Shields over on the blue side. Team Ambition Solstice is over on the red. I am Moose, and I am joined here by Niarco as we potentially get some deep warding coming through from Grand Poly. Can he survive? He will be able to get out of potential play from Nima. They're still trying to get some damage onto him, but he will survive, so that ward remains undetected. Niarco, as we move into the early game, any expectations from especially on the side of the Spartan Shields?
I think right now, given the fact that you have the understanding that Team Ambition has gotten so much vision on your side of the map, that you're just going to have to kind of deal with the fact that counter jungling is 100% possible. You have to ensure that everyone on your team is aware of the potential for Viego to go for an invade, just in case Grand Poly is spotted out on a ward and Cole V5 just happens to be on the other side of the map. So awareness going to be a huge premium. Hopefully the communication will be there for the Spartan Shields here. We'll see how they're also able to just set up and get a little bit of priorities in these lanes, just so a rotation is in fact possible, just in case that occurrence that I talked about comes to pass.
The curse, you say? The curse? The caster curse, you say? That's not, it's not real. Don't let them lie to you up there, wherever you may be. But yes, vision is, I think, a very, very important aspect of any level of play. And as we saw, 4 wards getting dropped before the game started. Everyone wanted to know where Kobe5 and Grand Poly were going to be at, and they did get some information, as both Kobe5 and Grand Poly, mirrored on their clears, looking to be able to potentially go for a full clear here for both sides. Also want to point out some of the interesting or I guess important keystones that have been unlocked. Press the Attack is going to be played for Jag's money on the Misfortune, as well as Glacial Augment going to be unlocked for both Brownie and Sir Comet. Really trying to prioritize making sure that those slowing fields are going to be available. Other than that, as we get into the first, parts of this game, no Tear of the Goddesses. Very interesting to see that being the case, as FGC9 does get stunned by the Spectral Maw. Thunder McBusters and Cole are looking to be able to pick up the kill, but not quite yet.
Yeah, gave a good scaring over to the Veigar, though, that is for sure. No summoner spells being forced out of that mid laner, though, which means that they'll still be able to try to fight and wrestle for priority here, while still having a little bit of insurance just in case a repeat gank occurs for the side of Team Ambition. Solstice, across the map, though, things are playing out about as expected. It looks like Cole V5 is actually going to try to go for a little bit of a lane gank topside, just immediately getting pressure onto a lot of these lanes and really trying to help out their teammates.
Yeah, as of level 3, has already gone for 1 gank, was able to pick up the top side Scuttle Crab, so that is just an even Scuttle Crab play. Roaming as well for Sir Comet, as he tried to maybe go in for a play against Thunder McBusters, but that did not turn out. They're now looking for something bot side. Brownie is going to be the target. The play is going to land. The death sentence will field goal in between both bot laners, as purple mid laner now going to be dealing with his gank. Didn't have to use flash, so all in all, trade working out over to the side of Spartan Shields.
Yeah, definitely. Spartan Shields kind of netting a summoner spell across the map, but I guess the fight's going to continue topside.
Yeah, purple mid laner moving forward once again. Pretty egregious, and he'll be denied. That is Nima.
Wait, Nima!
Getting executed there. That is first blood going over to Team Ambition Solstice, as the death sentence lands onto Comet. A ton of damage onto Brownie. Flaming Shock will pick up a kill, so it's a 1-for-1 across the rift.
Action-packed start to this one for sure, Moose. One of the things that I wanted to talk about that kind of... Oh, never mind. Here is another fight in turn. I'll let you have this one.
Cole V5. Oh, he gets hit by the taunt into the event horizon. Playing a little bit too aggressively there. Going to get caught out taking the grump.
Yeah, stayed a little bit too long there on the top side of the map, and with the flow of that mid lane, we have FCG9 able to rotate up, drop that baby cage, and in turn secure one more over for the Spartan Shields. But one of the things I wanted to talk about really quickly here, Moose, was the choice to go for the double Glacial Augment bot lane. There's kind of a push and pull right here in terms of whether or not we see a Guardian Keystone or Glacial Augment come through for these kinds of engaged supports. But speaking of engaged supports, we're getting one right up here on the top side of the map.
Oh, wow. Nice dredge line from Brownie. Gonna force the flash out of purple mid laner. That is both sums down for the top side of the Rift on the Spartan Shields. But with the show of Brownie, that does give the side of Spartan Shields the priority to go for this Ocean Drake. That will be cleared out. The question now is, what can Team Ambition Solstice get in return? With Rift Herald not up, that was a pretty long roam from Brownie there that didn't necessarily pay off, I think, the way that they wanted. Just going to continue to be Nima kind of bullying purple mid laner for the time being.
I definitely like the impulse for Brownie to go for a big roam, but unfortunately with that flash still up for the Shen, it's a little bit difficult to secure a kill, but a kill might be secured here in fact.
All right, Flash getting used at the stand united from purple mid laner, keeping him alive. Another death sentence going to land onto Brownie, getting taunt, and Comet will pick up that kill. That is a massive play from Comet, though. Going to be able to play back everybody else. They don't quite pick up anybody. Nima, though, looking to use the Vanguard's edge, will slow, but can't quite pick up any kills, and so it ends up being another death against Team Ambition Solstice.
Really solid rotations coming through for the Spartan Shields that just allows for this play to come through with a one kill in favor of them. Also, as you talked about, the game-changing play for Sir Comet, something to really watch out for. The amount of area being denied by that champion is going to become more and more pressing as time goes on. These are both teams who have bot lanes that really want to set up for fights relatively early, just because it allows for both sides to get good positioning, either by laying down traps from the Caitlyn with Flame and Shock piloting that champion, or Jagsmite just being able to kind of wait in the wings with their bullet time. And if they're allowed to combo that with Brownie's CC, it could be a big play either way. A lot of poke on the top side of the map. Meanwhile, Nima going to have to back right here in the face of that Shen. But we may be seeing a play bot side. There is a control ward in that bush that Colby5 is on.
Oh no, the Spectral Maw landed. Flame and Shock's gonna flash, gonna have the Dark Passage, but can't quite survive. That is a huge kill there for Cole. Basically handed to him on a silver platter.
Yeah, the way that that wave was pushing up kind of meant that Flame and Shock and Sir Comet unfortunately had to approach even without vision of the river. Nima going for a big fight as soon as they return to the top side, though.
A lot of damage onto purple mid laner, just using the bullying power of the Aurelia. Can't quite clear that out as we see Cole, Thunder McBusters, and Nima all potentially trying to be able, pardon me, Cole, Brownie and Thunder McBusters in the mid lane, trying to be able to maybe go up against the Vigar. FGC9, I think maybe privy to the information that something is afoot. Going to be maybe in trouble here, because we do get also a play on from Nima against purple mid laner, just once again bullying him out. But with that being said, FCG9 doesn't have to use a summoner spell. Maybe bullied out of lane a little bit as both Colby5 and Brownie go up towards the Rift Herald.
Yeah, the ping's coming out there for that neutral objective. With the Dragon first going over to Spartan Shields, I like the fact that we see Solstice attempting to kind of even out the board, at least in return in regards to the income that comes from these neutral camps. We might be able to see a quick push topside and an immediate drop of the Herald, but as things stand, I also think that they kind of have the luxury to sit on this eye for quite a while, see if they're going to be able to grab a kill and in turn a first tower, flash over the wall right there.
Yeah, Comet was in trouble, having to use Flash to get away from the Chaos Storm that Thunder McBusters had. That's going to be the Rift Herald before 10 minutes, going over to Colby5 and Team Ambition Solstice. And like you said, they could potentially put it bot or topside. Nima is a carry potential player and something that could be, you know, pretty effective for them if they do want to get that gold lead even further for Nima. So far, though, I think he's probably in a very strong gold lead up against purple mid laner, considering not only does he have a kill, but also a 20 CS lead Really looking to see if he'll be able to continue to CS and get himself into a massive advantage so that he can be the Aurelia 1v9 champion that we all know and potentially despise.
Aurelia doesn't only carry you, they could carry an entire team here in the Aegis Guardians League. I will say the bright spot for purple mid laner is the fact that they have Stand United back up. And while their lane is still not necessarily even out, they are able to utilize this pushing wave now to look for plays across the rest of the map. And in turn, everyone else on Spartan Shields is able to play aggressive for the time being. They know that they can bait fights and they will always have an extra person on their side when it comes to a potential engage. And in turn, I'm interested to see how the side of Solstice will look to kind of work with that ebb and flow of that ultimate on the top side. Will they in fact play more passively, or will they try to grab these fights for themselves and just say, hey, we're confident, we think we could take these engages?
Right now, though, the game has kind of slowed down here as both teams, waiting to reach those mid-game power spikes. Hextech Drake is up, means it will either get an Infernal Cloud or Mountain Rift, and Soul here for game number 1. Let's see if maybe potentially a play happens. We got 4 members as Jags Money barely able to use that strut to get away from the event. Horizon doesn't quite get hit by that one. That would have definitely been a kill against him. Predator has been used by FCG9, looking to be able to potentially find another event horizon here in a couple of seconds. But with that being said, there's 4v4 situation here, potentially a 5v4 situation if Purple mid laner wants to use Stand United. So it's going to be up to Nima to make sure that that is not going to happen. He can stun that out, but remember, the shield is still very impactful. The side of TA Solstice has to make the decision whether to sack this dragon or to potentially go for it, and they are still in the river trying to think to make that happen.
Solstice has a lot going for them if they are in fact able to make a play here. A one team fight not only means securing this Hextech Drake and evening up that dragon score, but it also means dropping that Eye of the Herald perhaps mid or bot lane of the map, and that can just be the snowball that they need to really begin to push the game in their favor.
And Cole is going to drop that Rift Herald in the mid lane. Cage is going to drop on the Thunder McBusters and now is in trouble. Can he get out of this one as the Chaos Storm gets used? Oh my goodness, the Primordial Burst will land as we get a lot of damage on the Grand Poly. He's going to flash away. The Stand United will be used to keep the health alive. Comet's going to have another great play onto Brownie. He's going to go golden, but that will only buy him some time. That's another kill for FCG9, second of the game.
Really unfortunate to see for TA Solstice here. Unfortunately, when you have that Herald dropped and you have this big incentive to really walk forward, this is a signal for the other team to rotate into the area because they know that they want to see a charge come through. And in turn, we saw how that translated into 2 kills picked up for the Spartan Shields, and they are going to rotate over, and it looks like they're getting excited around that dragon.
Exactly. It is going to be an Infernal Soul as well. You must be feeling good if you are the Spartan Shields. That not only did you get the second Drake, but you also got a pretty great Soul out of that as well. With already 2 Dragon stack, it could mean a very impactful win condition if they are able to eventually pick up that Infernal Soul and the AoE burst that it does provide, along with the extra assisted damage as well. Just want to point out that the Stand United was used by Purple mid laner, but immediately stunned out by Nima. While he wasn't in that fight, he was still able to drop that shield and was impactful up against Grand Poly. With the Rift Herald getting dropped in the mid lane, they were able to drop it down to about 2 turret plates, but couldn't quite clear it out just yet. So far, no towers have been picked up by either team, but some of them are starting to shake up.
Definitely, and one of the things to look out for is the fact that even though we have 3 kills and 2 dragons extra over on the side of the Spartan Shields, they aren't actually up a whole lot of gold, and that comes down both to a CS difference as well as the few plays taken by the Rift Herald here. As long as Nima and company are able to gain advantage in individual lanes for the time being, they're going to at least be able to stay at parity with the Spartan Shields, and hopefully that will kind of propel for them to look for a fight later on, and in turn maybe grab one in their favor to start putting the game in their direction.
And, it just goes to show that despite having a little bit of a gold disadvantage and, the scaling being quite nice for the Spartan Shields, that Team Ambition Solstice knows that they can still win this game, and they're looking to go for a play here up against Comet. He is going to get CC'd to the moon, and the Gale Force will be enough to be able to pick up a kill there. Jags will get that second kill of their game, as the ace in the hole gets used onto Brownie, going to just use his shield to be able to survive. That's a quick pick for the side of Team Ambition Solstice. Thunder McBusters, though, maybe going to be the next target. Not going to fall, not even going to be in threat of falling, as Nyarko, we get an interesting decision here. Grand Poly not going for the Blue Assassin, and instead going to go for the Red Rust.
And while I do like going for an assassin here, I do understand the choice to go for Rost, especially given the fact that you have your Veigar already at 2-0-2. That is plenty of damage for a fight right there, and maybe just having another frontliner protect that champion alongside the Caitlyn may be your ticket to victory.
As we get just continued play here from Nima, who continues to add to this CS lead in the top lane. Let's take a look at the gold really quick and see where it is showing off so far. Nima with not only the ironclad gauntlets, or the plated steel caps, pardon me. I don't even know where I got ironclad gauntlets. That's not an item, not even close to an item. But he does have a 40 CS lead and is definitely, I think, feeling good about that. He didn't even die. He didn't really give any money over to the side of Spartan Shields when he did die. It was just an execution. And now we're going to see if all of that gold is going to be paying off as we get a flash coming through. Thunder McBuster's going to get hit by the death sentence. That is so much damage, as Grand Poly is going to be able to pick up one kill. Nima's going to use the Vanguard's Edge and doesn't even really get to do anything in that fight. Spartan Shields pick up two.
And while that death ball was split up a little bit by the Vanguard's Edge, which may have, saved the lives of the Viego, this is still going to be more kills and a Rift Herald going over to Spartan Shields. A really, really strong start to this game, and I don't see them falling off. Caitlyn is going to continue to match up with MF as the game progresses here, and that Veigar is just becoming a true monster here. We see that they are backing, and we'll see if they're going to be able to grab that Everfrost as their first item here to match up with Thunder McBusters already on the Luden's Echo. But from here on out, you really got to watch out. Things aren't going to get easier, and we're only 30 seconds before the next dragon.
And it is that Infernal Drake. Soul Point could potentially be on the line here if the Spartan Shields are able to pick it up. And so a big decision here for Team Ambition Solstice. Do they decide to go for a play, or do they let them seed it? And with Thunder McBusters now in trouble, going to get hit by the Primordial Burst. Comet will pick up his third kill of the game. That's the 5th assist of the match. Almost 100% kill participation for FCG. 9 has 8 stacks on that Dark Seal.
And when you are a flashless, immobile mage like the Victor here, I think that Thunder McBusters just had to realize that this was their time to play far back, super far back, in fact, as that dragon was spawning in. Where else was Sir Comet going to be but looking for a kill, looking for a way for this team to just walk down and grab a third dragon for themselves? Sitting on Soul Point, looking pretty now. Things are blue team side to lose.
Yeah, a bit of a macro error, I think, for Team Ambition Solstice. Nima decides to, walk down to the mid lane, doesn't even pick up any CS, doesn't clear a wave, just, there to try to potentially, go in for a 4v5, a fight that they would never win. Hold that thought, though, as Grand Poly not going to get hit by the Spectral Maw, will use the Dark Passage to be able to get away. Nima is now up against purple mid laner, not really going to be in threat of taking a kill just yet, but it's just continuing to fight and go back and forth, maybe trying to see if purple mid laner will stay in the lane so they could potentially get a play on him thanks to Brownie, but instead, he'll just immediately back off.
Nima going Blade of the Ruin King here as their first item. This is a pretty standard build that we've been seeing on Aurelia recently, and I think it is particularly good into a tanky champion like purple mid laner on the Shen. We'll see with Brownie in the area if we'll look for a fight. But I think that the Nautilus walking up is about all they're going to be able to do here, but a fight in the river may be starting up in turn.
Colby5 not going to be able to hit the Spectral Maw, but FGG9 will hit the Primordial Burst. That is a kill onto Colby5, as we do get a lot of damage from the Vanguard's Edge, but it is definitely not enough. Grand Poly will pick up Brownie. It's going to be purple mid laner picking up Jags, as well as Nima falling. That is a 4-for-0 trade in favor of Spartan Shields, and with no threat of a contest, they're going to be able to take Baron at almost spawn.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to have a convenient fight that leads to a virtual ace here on the top side of the map, right next to Baron Pit, you might as well grab Nasher as well. 12-3 is the score, and things are beginning to look unwinnable for this side of TAS. We'll see what they're going to do to get back into this one. They're going to have to turtle up for the next few minutes at the very least, as we see the march down mid begin emphatically with the dropping of a Rift Herald as well. But I think after that point, you're just going to have to sit there as Solstice and try to find a way to grab a pick and hopefully translate that over into a drag soul denial. Getting one off the map will give you a few minutes to recollect and maybe try to find a push back in. And from there, maybe they could turn this into anyone's game.
It's about a 4,000 gold lead for the Spartan Shields right now. A almost perfect Vigar. 4-0 and 7-10 stacks on that Dark Seal is, stacking up nicely as the Vigar. That's going to be, unlimited power for Spartan Shields as they continue to play throughout this game. And there really is no sign of Team Ambition Solstice being able to come back from this, as Comet picks up another great death sentence. No way that he's getting out of that one. Purple mid laner with their third kill of the game.
Yeah, you can't afford to push up at all, especially given the fact that the vision line is basically reduced to dust for the side of TAS here. This is going to be another huge push top side of the map this time. Tier 1 is going to go down, and Caitlyn being pushed a little bit out of mid lane. We'll see if we're going to get a rotation, just a continued push.
All right, another potential play onto the Vigar. FGC9 using Flash to get away from the Heartbreaker, and can't even die. Everfrost using so well here from the Spartan Shields mid laner, able to use Flash as well to survive that play, and you can start to see the desperation, I think, over on Team Ambition Solstice.
I like the death ball that they created. I like the fact that they were trying to capitalize on the huge clustering of champions for the Spartan Shields top side to make a play happen, but that Vagar, super slippery. That is a premature drop of death charge to start this one off.
They do get it, though. That is a kill there for Jags Money. They will take whatever they can get at this point, and you have to play a little bit desperately here. You have to play a little ambitious if Solstice has any chance of winning this one. They're behind by 5k. They do at least pick up a kill. They get the third kill over to Jags Money, but instead of pressing any further, they can't quite get it. Dragon is up in 30 seconds, and with that being said, I don't know if this is something that Team Ambition Solstice can even fight. Brownie just getting chunked out.
Yeah, this is a weird situation to be in for sure. Obviously, Infernal Soul over to a champion like FCG9's Vigar is just absolutely terrifying and incredibly difficult to deal with. But at the same time, as that Baron buff was up and therefore these waves were just pushing for the blue team, dying here could just mean a march all the way into the base for the side of the Spartan Shields. And I think in turn, that's why we're seeing a little bit of a peel off, or not actually. It looks like they're going to rotate back in. Quite the fight starting up now.
Oh, Brownie on the wrong side of the ridge will fall. A lot of damage on a grab poly, but the Spanned United will come in along with the Umbral Trespass. Colby 5 is dead. Purple mid laner on a rampage, and with 2 down, Team Ambition Solstice cannot contest it. Nima teleporting in is on the flank. Maybe looking to be able to go in for a miracle steal here at the Infernal Drake to keep their chances of winning this game alive, but the box is dropped down. Thunder McBusters is there, but it won't be enough. Comet's going to flash forward, going to get the play onto Jags. The Primordial Burst is dominant, as FGC9 is, in fact, dominating. Going to be able to use the Predator to get into Thunder McBuster's area of control, and will pick up another one for his squad. Purple mid laner actually taking that kill as another gets taken. That is everyone on the side of Team Ambition Solstice dying. A pseudo ace and Infernal Soul going over to the Spartan Shields.
And you could hear the hesitation in my voice, Moose, before that whole shebang even started. I really thought that we were going to see TA Solstice back off from this one, give up the soul, and look to fight elsewhere. The fact that they decided to wrap around and the engage occurred starting with Brownie falling down here is disastrous. More gold, more power over to the Spartan Shields, and with this next push, they're going to look to get this game even more in the bag. We saw how awkward as well the lack of vision is becoming for the side of TA Solstice. Anima forced to teleport into a really awkward spot right there and just not able to rotate over to the fight in time. We have Colby 5 up here, making sure that once Baron comes back up in about a minute that they won't exactly get perfect vision of that area.
You talked about vision as we take a look at maybe the vision scores here in game one. For a long time, Grand Poly was a double-digit lead in vision score against Colby 5, has 27 at the moment comparatively to 22. It is a 10 vision score advantage for FCG9, who, recognized that he was potentially a vulnerable target in the early game, has really made sure that he was able to, stay protected and alive. Hold that thought, though, to get another play. Brownie is going to be able to find the dredge line on to Grand Poly, but he's just going to use Ross to be able to get the Umbral Trespass and the kill. Oh my god! It's a triple kill for FCG9, a 24 stack Magi, and Colby 5 is the only member of Solstice to stay alive long enough to potentially tell a tale. But with everyone else dead, Spartan Shield's gonna go straight to Baron.
And I like the fact that we saw an engage come through for TA Solstice. If the game wasn't so far already in favor of the Spartan Shields, I would have applauded that dredge line landing. But we saw how, if anything, that was just a free engage for Grand Poly and company. He caused so much discord with his knockups and with his ultimate that by the time he emerged from the dead body of the Nautilus, FCG9 was there to tear up the rest of the floor. And yet again, Baron is going to go over to the blue team.
With that Baron now complete, this game has seemed over for a little while, but I don't foresee any sort of comeback from Team Ambition Solstice in game one. They will try to defend as best they can, but Infernal Soul up, you've got less than 3 minutes until Elder Drake spawns. I don't think that Spartan Shields needs to wait that long. They should just be able to take this game into their favor as FGZ9 going to find a nice Everfrost and a lot of damage onto Nima. Nima will fall. That's another kill for Sir Comet. Second of the game. Bullet time is effective, and it will be one kill for Thunder McBusters in return, but it's only the support. I don't expect that will deter the side of Spartan Shields for too much longer, as they're able to now pick up 2 and potentially another tower in the mid lane.
You can't walk up this far anymore, unfortunately. TA Solstice, they're getting that Scuttle Crab. They wanted to establish vision somewhere, especially around this Elder Dragon, but they are getting stuffed and punished way too darn hard for those kinds of plays to work out. And even though Jag's money set up and got a solid bullet time off, only being able to grab 1 kill there is really detrimental to the game plan in place for the red side, which is basically turtle up and pray that nobody else dies until this second Baron buff runs its course. We see huge push down mid lane as well. Grand Poly all by their lonesome, basically able to take the majority of that tower. Jags Money and Nima in the area. But I think this Kane's getting out.
Oh, I think he's definitely getting out. He has so many escape tools. He'll be just fine. Thunder McBusters trying to drop as much damage as he can, as Grand Poly will get the Stay United shield from Purple mid laner, making it a 2v2. The flash onto Nima is so good. Purple mid laner is dominating. Colby 5 is the next target, as FCG9 is legendary. That is a full stack Dark Seal on an 11-0 and 11 Vigar. He's going to be caught under tower thanks to a nice dredge line, but will have the golden play to be able to stay legendary, to be able to stay deathless, and to be able to stay alive to see the ending of this game. Your Spartan Shields are the winner of game one.
And what a way to start the series, Moose. There was no doubt after the 15-minute mark, basically, that we were going to be seeing a game heavily in favor of the Spartan Shields, and fight after fight continued to push forward that fact. I really like some of the plays being made late by the side of TA Solstice, but those were way too little too late, to be frank. I think that if you're able to get some of those better engages and setups started when the team that you're against isn't absurdly ahead in gold, perhaps you'll come out on top in those 5v5s. But for the time being, they're going to have to really sit back and reconsider their approach to this game.
Unfortunately, it just never felt like there was an opportunity for TA Solstice to really show off their team comp. I said that if they were, at the 15, 20-minute mark, if they were a little bit behind, they might have had a chance to be able to win the game because they do still have a lot of burst and carry potential from the Misfortune, from the Aurelia, from the Victor. But there was never a point where they were able to get gold on to their carries. I don't believe that we saw a single kill on the side of Thunder McBusters. I think he went killless that game. And, it's just a tale of two different mid laners. While there were no kills for Thunder McBuster, there were double digit kills. A perfect game for FCG9. That Vigar was unstoppable and just continued to ravage Team Ambition Solstice throughout the game. Unfortunately for Team Ambition Solstice, this now puts them in a very tough situation. They lose this game, they are eliminated from Aegis Guardians League, and the Spartan Shields are one step closer to making it into the playoffs. With that being said, though, we're going to take a quick break before we get into draft number 2 for game number 2. We'll see you guys shortly.
Everybody, panic! Hold on. I'm about to say something really cool. 3, 41, 9, and lift off! No one dies screaming without me. I feel like I forgot to shoot something. You're starting to bore me. She's such a loser, always ready to cry. Da-da-da-da. Aw, come on. What's the worst that could happen?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We are live, about to jump into game number 2 between Team Ambition Solstice and the Spartan Shields in our play-in match in the Aegis Guardians League. My name is Moose, and I'm joined here by Niarco. Niarco, I gotta tell you, like, game 1 just seemed so dominant for Spartan Shields. I mean, what is it gonna take for Team Ambition Solstice to take it to a game 3?
It's going to take a lot of careful play moves. It's going to take a lot of careful play. I think that there were clearly signs of life there for the side of TAS. They had the ability to set up for fights, especially in the river, and get good engages with Brownie on that Nautilus. But too many times they were just way too far forward. They were desperate for a play, and that desperation just led them to feeding 3 or even 4 or even 5 kills over to CWRU. And in turn, the snowball was truly to be had. If we see TA Solstice get behind this game, what I want is a little bit more, I guess, maturity, a little bit more balance out of them. I don't want them to immediately go into emergency mode where they feel they need to get kills back onto the map. I want them to recollect, see what plays they can make across the map, and go for some more valuable exchanges.
And, you know, as we move into game number 2, it seems a little bit of the same, but also a respect ban. FCG9 will not be able to get the Vigar here in game 2, banning that out. Team Ambition Solstice not giving them the chance. Shaco and Xinjiao are also not going to be available for Grand Poly. Meanwhile, the Spartan Shields, they are staying relatively consistent with their bans. The Trendemir, the Lilia, and the Jinx. Solstice with the B1 pick, gonna pick up that victor.
I think that TA Solstice's plan game 1 was basically, hey, we will trade the champions that FCG9 mains to a degree, right? We will grab the victor away from them. They can have the Vagar, which is their secondary, and hopefully we'll be okay with that in mind. Unfortunately, Thunder McBuster is not really able to match up to the dominant power of FCG9, even on their backup right there. That Predator Vagar just able to do a whole lot more early, and the victor never really got to scale up to see the light of day. Hopefully this will go a little bit better now that that Nemesis is knocked out of the mid lane, and we'll see how CWRU will respond. This time around, they'll go for that early Diana, though.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, pretty smart move here from Spartan Shields. Grand Poly, second most played solo queue champion in the Diana, and so we are getting some comfort picks across the rift for a bunch of different players. Same thing here for a Colv5, has a ton of games played as the Trundle. Lilia, their most played champion, not going to be available to them, so, you know, picking their second most played champion and the Trundle is definitely a good pick. Jags Money, though, going to be able to pick up the Ezreal. That is their most played ADC here in Season 12, and so we'll be able to get a comfort pick for Game 2. Looking at the bans after the Nautilus picked up here for Sir Comet, the Leona, the Shen, another respect ban away from the Spartan Shields, looking to be able to make sure that if CWRU is going to win Game 2, they're going to do it on some new champions.
Nima seemed pretty confident in the 1v1 versus purple mid laner, and so I like the Shen ban as it will force the top side for CWRU to go for something that isn't really able to hop out of lane and make plays around the map to the same degree that Ninja will be able to do so, right? And in turn, what this means is that Nima will be able to get a little bit more confident in playing that 1v1 and realizing that that is the impact that purple mid laner will have on the game. It's going to be isolated a bit more to that lane, and hopefully that is where the pick will shine through here. The Vex ban gonna round things out, and CWRU answering back with that Aurelia not going to be able to go to the hands of the top laner for Solstice.
Yeah, Nima not going to have Aurelia, and we are pinching the roster here for FCG9. You know, his top 3 played champions in the Victor, the Vigar, and the Vex. The Triple V not going to be available for him, and so picks up a control mage with the Orianna. I love this choice because you have a lot of wombo combo potential, a ball delivery system, in either the Nautilus or the Diana to really make it happen. And Team Ambition Solstice are picking up the Blitzcrank. I'm not sure if I agree with that one.
Blitzcrank is not necessarily the most synergistic champion to go alongside an Ezreal. Honestly, given the fact that you have a Trundle in the jungle in the hands of Colv5, I would have preferred an Enchanter here, a healer of some sort that would both be able to ensure that Ezreal remains safe in lane, while later on helping this duelist really scale up and do a lot of damage and become more of a tanky terror. Even a Yuumi would have been better than a Blitzcrank, at least in my eyes here, especially given the fact that you have a big chance of hooking something like a very angry Nautilus on the side of CWRU.
And that's what worries me the most, is that now you are another ball delivery system for this Orianna, because all Orianna has to do is go command protect on whoever hooks in, and now you've got yourself potentially a great shockwave at your disposal. So very curious to see how Team Ambition Solstice is going to be able to use it. I also expect now a ton of roaming from Brownie. Give Jags the opportunity to be able to, perform well even in the 2v1, get those tier stacks up, get that CS up, get that experience up so that they can be a prominent factor as we move into the mid lane. But we are getting a response here from the Spartan Shields in another champion that likes to use Tear of the Goddess. It's going to be Jace for purple mid laner in the top lane.
I like Jace here. It's a much more assertive pick than what we saw last time around with that Shen. This is someone who likes a lot of gold income on themselves, because once you get those shots going through into team fights, you can soften people right up. Going up against a set as well, you will definitely have a range advantage. You're able to play this lane pretty assertively and aggressively here, and we shall see whether or not the tables are turned there on the top side of the map. Overall, though, the more I look at the Blitzcrank, while I do understand that there is a little bit of a non-bow there in the lane itself with the Ezreal, as well as the risk factor of Orianna just getting great team fights set up due to your hooks, I do think that this may synergize pretty well with Brownie's roaming playstyle that we actually saw come through in game number 1 as well. Remember, Nautilus walking topside of the map was one of the first big plays we saw coming through for Team Ambition Solstice, and perhaps this champion will just be a little bit better at, instead of hurling yourself bodily at the enemy team, pulling someone from the enemy team to you. And honestly, a lot of these champions would not do so great getting caught out. The Diana, for instance, and the Orianna too.
And with that being said, you bring up a really great point. Team Ambition Solstice has drafted a very strong early game composition. I expect Invade level 1. If you're able to find a pick on either the Caitlyn or the Orianna, that will be great. You have to be worried about the dredge line from the Nautilus, though. That could potentially still be a little bit of a problem if they still hit either Jags or Thunder McBuster with it. They can just take all the damage onto them, and then the carries are gone, and then you don't have the damage to potentially get first blood. But you have drafted a very strong early game composition that needs to be able to get ahead early on. You've pinched the drafting pool, the roster of FCG9, going down to a secondary or a tertiary pick with this Orianna, and you're getting something that's a little bit different here for purple mid laner on this Jace. And so, you have maybe given Spartan Shields a little bit of worrisome, some cracks potentially in the armor that can be exploited. The question now is, do they get those early game hooks? Do they find those early kills so that they deny the chance for Spartan Shields to scale up?
Yeah, a lot of early game options here for sure, Moose. I love the fact that you bring that up, because I think it also speaks to how Spartan Shields are going to have to approach this game. Nautilus is great at matching Blitzcrank's roams, frankly. I think that this is a champion that does great at counter-engage and counter-gank scenarios, just because you yourself kind of deliver your body into a team fight by kind of meeting your hook halfway. And with that in mind, Nautilus Q is really solid at kind of hopping onto Blitzcrank, especially if Blitzcrank has just grabbed one of your squishies. In turn, though, I think that this also may mean that we're going to have to see a little bit of adaptation coming through for the Spartan Shields in how they build and how they choose runes for their champions. One thing I want to see here, actually, is maybe a pivot back towards more tanky setups for Nautilus instead of going for Glacial Augment, because what that'll allow you to do is really work as hook bait here. You're able to more easily square off into the Blitzcrank. You're able to frontline better against the Trundle and push them away for your carries, and in turn, by being so far forward, that combo that you talked about before with Orianna going command protect into Shockwave can be like using you as the focal point here.
And with that being said, we have the drafts now locked in. We are about to get into the spectator delay, so it'll be just a couple of minutes before we get into this matchup. It's very important for Team Ambition Solstice to win this game, to take it to a game number 3, and potentially keep their chances of an AGL play-in run alive. Remember, whoever loses this match is eliminated from the play-ins. They have no chance of making the playoffs, and so this is do or die for Team Ambition Solstice. As we get into the spectator delay, before we take a break, I do want to shout out our sponsor, ProComps. 25% off any order there with the promo code Aegis25 if you want to improve your compositions, if you want to improve your play in League of Legends on Summoner's Rift, you can definitely do so through Pro Comps. If you guys have not done so already, also make sure that you guys are following the Twitter so you guys are given any information on when and where Aegis is playing in their games, when and where they actually are, having their tournaments and all that fun stuff. But with that being said, we're going to take about a 90-second break before we get into game number 2. We'll see you guys shortly. Welcome back, everybody. We are now live for game number 2, match point for CWRU Spartan Shields as they take on Team Ambition Solstice. A must-win situation here for the side of, or for the blue side, if they want to be able to keep their chances of a playoff run alive. My name is Moose, and I'm joined here by Nyarko. And as we get the 5-man invade from Team Ambition Solstice, are they going to be able to get a hook? Are they going to be able to make anything happen here? Let's hold on. Let's find out. We got the vision toggled on. They're not going to see that Grand Polly is in that river, and they're going to get seen themselves. Oh, no. It's disaster for this level 1.
I like the call to go topside. This means that you're going to most likely deny an invade chance from the Nautilus, or at least it will allow for you to go for a hook without getting counter engaged on Moose. And so I like this call overall, and I also love the unintentional comedy of you getting caught out by a ward and immediately turning around as 5. But what this means is that you get this invasion bot side of the map now. And this Nautilus is going to help Grand Polly and Flame and Shock start off this red buff.
And I mean, that is the downside of going Blitzcrank. If you don't get that first blood, you kind of, give up the other side of the rift that you don't take. And so Grand Polly will immediately be able to pick up that red buff here on the Diana. Cole B5 is now going to have a decision to make. Does he decide to go in for some counter jungling himself, or does he just clear the remainder of his side of the rift? Considering that he is going to be up against purple mid laner as the Jace, that could maybe be ill-advised to go for the counter play, but he is going to go for it. And we'll see if that potentially is not going to work out in his favor, or if it does, we'll see.
Yeah, and this is a chance for purple mid laner to really just shove, and hopefully get priority to catch out a counter jungling, as the Trundle is in fact going to roam up towards that top side red buff. We'll see if any movement occurs. I think that either way, you can allow them to have this and just continue a vertical jungle for Grand Poly as well. But at the same time, grabbing a kill against this troll early on could be the start of the game that you need as CWRU.
And, while there was some priority made for purple mid laner, and FCG9 did try to make something happen, not quite going to have enough time to deny Cole V5 from picking up the red buff. And so, no harm, no foul there. But, there is knowledge that he is on the top side of the rift. There's no reason for Comet or Flaming Shock to be passive here in this lane, and is going to be able to potentially find something here as Cole V5 looking to be able to potentially get a kill on a purple mid laner. Flash is going to get used. We're going to get another bite, and purple mid laner will be able to survive. Meanwhile, in the bottom side of the rift, a lot of damage onto Brownie. He's going to flash away and will survive. Flame and Shock is fairly low. Brownie's fairly low, but no one goes down.
Barely getting out of the range of Caitlyn right there at the end. Brownie was able to prevent disaster from occurring, but that hook in turn may start this one right back up.
Comet, though, has a decent shield, should be feeling pretty healthy himself. No biscuits at this point as we get another dredge line landing. The root's going to land onto Jag's money, and that did not work out in just Sir Comet's favor. He's going to have to flash away. Meanwhile, top side of the rift, another Pillar of Frost going to put purple mid laner into a bad situation, but he will survive for the time being, but has a stacked wave against him.
V5 really hitting some solid knockups with those pillars. If we see those in some other gank situations, those could be some easy peasy kills going over to the blue team here. Something to definitely watch out for. Pretty impressed so far on how this Trundle is showing up and adapting to that invade across to the red buff from early on in the game as well. Overall, though, things are pretty normal on this map, barring that crazy shenanigan from level 1. Moose, what do you think we're going to be seeing around this dragon?
I still think that this is a dragon that, especially since it's an Infernal Drake, I think it's one that Cole V5 and Team Ambition Solstice must take. You have so much early power from the Trundle to be able to take and clear out dragons fairly easily, and so you should be looking to use that to your advantage. Hopefully want to see both Brownie and Jags now with a decent back, pushing forward the lane, making sure that Flame and Shock and Comet, if they do decide to potentially contest the dragon, that they will be in a disadvantage. But unfortunately, Flame and Shock was able to get a back off as two longswords to be able to contest with the Tear and the Sheen that Jag's money picked up. So not quite going to have that same level of power, as we do get a play in the top side of the rift. Nima's going to be able to get a lot of damage on the purple mid laner, but a great use of the shove from the Jace, going to deny any true damage from the set. And with, now the action being over on the bottom side, will Grand Poly and the rest of Spartan Shields be able to pick up this dragon? It looks like they're trying to go for it.
Spartan Shields putting themselves in a little bit of danger here. Obviously, taking an objective so early on like this with the Blitzcrank in the midst can be a bit difficult, but I think they're clustering up well, and they're taking down this dragon pretty quickly. There's the hook coming out.
All right, nice rocket grab onto Comet. He's now potentially in trouble as Thunder Big Buster is not quite level 6. Is going to be able to get first blood thanks to the laser, and is now looking for another one. Going to be able to get the stun onto Flame and Shock, and gets the kill. Jag's money will pick up his first of the game as we get another play. How Nima looking to be able to potentially pick up the kill on a purple mid laner. Doesn't quite have the power quite yet. Dragon gets taken by Spartan Shields, but it's traded in for 2 deaths.
And that's definitely not worth it so early on in the game, especially into a composition that's able to just pick up the kills and really start riding the pace of this one, especially early on. As we see TAS go up 2-0 here, they're also going to be up about 800 gold for the time being. I really thought that that fight was going to go a little bit differently, especially after Brownie only hooked Sir Comet there on the Nautilus. But at the end of the day, that rotation from Thunder McBusters really turned that one around. The kill picked up and the stun lockdown on Flamin' Shock made that a rough play for the red team.
And, that is how Team Ambition Solstice is going to be able to win game 2. They need to be aggressive here in the early game. They have to make sure that they can actually pick up more kills and stay aggressive with it. The only sad part about that one is that, they do not get the dragon. That is a potential win condition for Spartan Shields. The dragon stacking is so impactful, and the later that the game goes on, I think the harder that it's going to be for Team Ambition Solstice to contest at Drake. So being able to pick up that first dragon is definitely a big boon here for the Spartan Shields, and we'll have to see if they can continue to stack them up later on down the line. Thunder McBusters, though, in the river is going to see that Grand Poly is looking to go for the Scuttle Crab and will deny that take as we do get a nice bit of damage. And Phase Breaker will be enough. Grand Poly is trying to run for the hills, but Thunder McBusters will pick up their second kill of the game.
That was a great chase laid down by Colby5 and Thunder McBuster, and Nima rising to the occasion, making sure that Diana was not able to get out of that one alive. Purple mid laner now walking into River, maybe not the best spot to be, especially when we just saw everyone grouping around that Rift Herald topside. We'll see if a fight comes through as Nautilus is in the area.
Sir Comet roaming forward. The Shockwave not going to land, but it will force out a flash. Colby5 is in trouble, and FCG9 will pick up their first kill of the match. What was Team Ambition Solstice thinking? They have the Rift Herald, but they tried to go on to Purple mid laner there.
Yeah, Purple mid laner was definitely a little bit caught out, but at the end of the day, this is a misjudgment by the blue team, and that will prevent them from actually grabbing the Rift Herald or a kill. In fact, one will go over to FCG9, and we know how dangerous they're able to be. Speaking of dangerous, though, Flamin' Shock getting Mystic shot to death right there. Sorry about that one, Moose. Went way too fast.
Oh, no, that is perfectly fine. Brownie finding the rocket grab and will actually still be able to get the kill over to Jags Money. That is their second kill of the game. And so, yes, you feel bad about not being able to get the Rift Herald over to Colby5. Grand Poly actually going to be able to steal that one away here. It's very good to see 2 kills both on your Ezreal and your Victor. It means that you're scaling up nicely and have the chance to still be able to contest in these lanes for a little while longer. Giving up those neutral objectives so early on is definitely going to be a bad news bear situation, and once it does get dropped, Grand Poly will be able to even out the gold for the Spartan Shields. But the fact that you are able to get these nice kills here onto your carries is definitely good stuff.
Brownie roaming up a storm too. I think that they're really balancing out presence in lane versus trying to go for plays elsewhere, actually. And this time around, it seems to be working out quite a bit better for them. When we saw Sir Comet go topside of the map, sure, a play was made, but the Caitlyn died. It's so hard to leave an ADC solo into a blitz crank right there, because any rocket grab landing basically spells instant doom. And meanwhile, we see them hooking yet another person over the wall.
Brownie, that was a blind rocket grab and finds Sir Comet. He has been so good with these rocket grabs. We get a showstopper from Nima. Gonna try to go for the true damage from the mid laner. A fall, and that is 2 kills.
Oh my god, I hate that. Yeah, that is a big change of fortune yet again. More kills, more gold going over to TAS, and now they're in the driver's seat for this one. We're going to be seeing a real reversal of roles. The question is, can CWRU play from behind a little bit better than Solstice were able to last game? But right here, Brownie just waiting next to the wall once more. He's breaking out the fishing rod, and he's going fishing.
I mean, he caught a big one there, Sir Comet. I mean, that was... He might have seen him off of that vision ward that was in the brush there. As he goes in for another flash, Brownie is just ruthless with these rocket grabs. FCG9 will survive barely there. But oh man, he is deadly. He's fly fishing, he's hook fishing, he's doing everything with his blitzcrank.
Yeah, Brownie, a real menace right now, and that matching of roams that I was talking about for Sir Comet just isn't coming through quite yet. Similarly, we aren't really seeing him able to do a whole lot against the Ezreal. Remember, this is a matchup that allows for the ADC to play relatively avoidant, and therefore that imbalance that I was talking about earlier, Moose, where Flame and Shock is always going to be imperiled whenever Jags Money and Brownie are in lane, but Sir Comet is roaming, doesn't really work in the reverse. Arcane Shift could just do so much to deny plays, but here Jags Money is getting pressured now that there are 3 arriving bot side of the map for CWRU.
Yeah, Flame and Shock is 0-2 and 0, is still even in CS though. They is having a pretty decent time there. Rift Herald is still available, but has about a minute-ish remaining on its timer, so it will have to get dropped fairly soon with, minute 30 remaining until the plating does fall. It looks like the play is to go towards mid lane and potentially get FCG9 some more gold in their pocket. They're going to clear that one out, going to get priority, and they will be able to drop the Rift Herald here. Thunderbeak Busters will try to deny it for as long as possible and will be able to get a little bit of damage onto it before it actually gets hit by the head. But Polly, though, beautiful Frost Pillar from Colby5 is going to be forced to flash away. Rift Herald gets its guaranteed 2 headbutts, and that's about that.
Yeah, a lot of action early on, most of it going in favor of TAS here. Jags Money waiting in the bush and getting a solid combo off onto Flame and Shock as soon as they arrive back in lane here with that Noon Quiver. Essence Reaver already completed on the Ezreal means that the fact that he was able to fend for himself early, that fact is only going to continue to build upon itself here as that imbalance in itemization comes through here on the bot side. Nima, though, getting a little bit approached upon by Grand Poly.
I'm not going to go for the Lunar Rush, doesn't land the Crescent Strike, and so won't actually fall. On top of that, he also is quite tanky. He's got the Iron Spike Whip, he's got the Coldfield's Warhammer, and now being able to go back will be very close to picking up that Gore Drinker very soon. Turret plates are falling in 10 seconds, and now we potentially get to see what the mid game is going to be all about. Purple mid laner now in trouble. Flash getting used. Colby5 with a very strong and quick solo kill.
Anytime you face check a bush and a troll is hiding in that bush, I would not even flash. I would just give my life away, frankly, Moose. That is a champion that has just so much ability to cover ground with the utilization of their W and so much damage and 1v1 dueling potential that if you're putting yourself right in their bread box, there's no real way back out, especially this early on into the game where that champion was already sitting at a kill and 3 assists.
And speaking of, we do want to talk about, I think, the early game power was very successful for Team Ambition Solstice, but is it going to be able to equate into late game damage? And some of that is going to be based off of, making sure that they're able to stay in the lead when the tier items start to come online. Taking a look at your tier stacks, Purple mid laner at 255. Jags Money at 240, picking up a little bit later. And you've also got 153 stacks on FCG9 and this Orianna. I say, as we see these tier items get unlocked, upgraded to the Muramana or the Archangels or the Seraph's Embrace, respectfully, it's going to mean that those champions are going to be able to run the show here. And if the Spartan Shields are able to get to a point in the mid game where they're able to unlock these 2 crucial items without being too far behind, it could be the ticket to the late game that they need to be able to stay impactful in this game. But you cannot lose too many deaths. You cannot lose too much damage. As Purple mid laner gonna get caught out. The showstopper. Colby5 is on a killing spree.
Yeah, 4 people in the area does mean that that is going to be an X-Jace yet again topside of the map. And unfortunately, that dragon is not spawning fast enough for anything to really be answered back in time by Spartan Shields. The rotation through over to the Rift Herald will be completed by TA Solstice here. And while I do think that that dragon goes over, this is still a trade of a kill plus a neutral objective that will help you snowball further versus a single neutral objective over for the side of the Spartan Shields.
Objective bounties, though, are online, and the Spartan Shields will pick up that dragon. That's an extra 500 gold in their pocket here. They're 3,000 gold behind at 16 and a half minutes. That isn't necessarily the worst deficit, but you are starting to feel a little bit concerned if you are Spartan Shields that, the snowball is just getting too powerful here. FCG9 is going to be able to get the shockwave, but is in big trouble. Can flash away if need be, but it doesn't matter. Thunder McBuster on a killing spree.
Yeah, a lot of these little mistakes are beginning to come back to bite the side of CWRU as Purple mid laner is caught out for a fourth time here.
Yeah, the vision not there, not going to be able to, or actually will be able to get out of this one. The power of Grand Polly and the power that he brings is definitely something that they got to worry about as we get to competing fights in both mid lane and top lane. Showstopper getting used by Nima. Lunar Rush is not available for Grand Polly, using the Chilling Spite to try to slow down this set. Gonna try to get it and does.
The Crescent Strike!
With the Crescent Strike. Grand Polly gonna pick up the second kill of the game.
Yeah, finally a little bit of a bright spot. Solid turn of a fight there for CWRU. Spartan Shields able to grab one in form of Set, finally dying here. But you're going to need a bit more than that to equalize this gold lead that is still continuing to balloon in favor of the growing threat that is TAS. They are now about 4,000 gold up.
And with 18 minutes into the game, you have to now look to see where the Rift Herald is going to drop. Colby 5 still has plenty of time with it, but that is the neutral objective that they were able to get with that earlier take onto Purple mid laner. As we get to see, whether or not they can take this to a Game 3 situation. If Team Ambition Solstice does not pull out this game with a win, they will be eliminated from the Aegis Guardians League. And they're playing like a team that is on the ropes.
Yeah, they are backed into a corner, but at the same time, there is a surprising amount of finesse with what they're showing out with here, Moose. This is not like a rat trapped in a cage. This is a team that is still calculating. They know the pressure is on, but what that means is that they're bringing their best without any sense of desperation. Look at the rotations from Brownie. Look at the ganks coming through, and look at the dominant control of vision we're seeing for TAS, and that is all adding up into a winning team here in round number 2.
Yeah, and you have to, we were a little bit questioning Brownie as the Blitzcrank in the draft. I know I was extra downing myself, wondering to see if Brownie was going to be impactful, and I'd say yes. He now has the locket. He's got the shielding power that it does provide, and he has been pretty on point with his rocket grabs as well, and has been able to pick up several kills for his squad. And so definitely well done from Brownie and all of the TAS squad. You still got a killing spree and a 300 gold bounty on Thunder McBuster. You've got Jags with a 202 stat line. So, things are still looking good for Team Ambition Solstice, but one misplay, one miscalculation, and it's right back in it here for the Spartan Shields. They have to be careful as we move into the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, most definitely. This is one of those games where the bounty becomes the win condition to a degree, or at least the equalizing condition in the game. Shockwave under tower.
Thunder McBuster down to about 500 HP. Grand Paul is going to be able to use the Hextech Rocket Belt and will be able to get one of those critical shutdowns I was talking about. That's a death.
And that is that win con starting up. We were just talking about it. That was a caster's blessing for once there, Moose. That will be Rift Herald drop mid, though, and a little bit more damage going down into this tier 2, and in turn, some more golden priority grabbed for the side of TAS. We'll see if they're going to be able to preserve these last 2 bounties, but I really think at this point in the game, when you're not super far behind, this is the chance for... Oh, never mind.
Oh man, Grand Polly using the Moonfall, trying to be able to survive with the Command Protect, but can't quite. Colby 5.
Yeah, alright. Well, I was going to say, this is your time to prepare for a team fight. Make sure that you group up, and if you're able to get a solid position up against the side of TA Solstice here, this could be your ticket to victory. But unfortunately, that is Grand Polly, the jungler for Spartan Shields, going down right as Dragon comes up in about 15 seconds.
And that was a potential win condition here for Spartan Shields. Mountain Soul, the extra shielding that it gets when you're up against a poke composition with, an Ezreal and a Victor, it gives you that chance to get a little bit of those extra resistances and stay alive long enough to be able to contest in these, longer engagements that Team Ambition Solstice will be looking to go for. But with Grand Poly dead, there's no way that they're able to contest this Drake. And now it's a 2-2 Drake score.
Yeah, the good news was that we aren't seeing the translation of this early game advantage for TAS into Drake stacking, which means that you get a little bit of luxury on the side of the Spartan shields to give away a few of these neutral objectives and recollect. There is no timer on the game regarding picking up a soul quite yet, but it is something to watch out for now. The mid game is truly upon us, and you really want to find times and situations in which to set up to try to go for team fights. And right now, with only the Baron up, it becomes a matter of who's going to make a mistake.
And you said the mid game is now upon us. You're absolutely right. With Jags Money picking up the first upgraded tier item in that Muramana, available to be able to use that as a massive power spike. And for the time being, will run the Rift here for Team Ambition Solstice. Now, with that being said, Purple mid laner is a little bit less than 1,000 gold away from picking up his Muramana, and there is still a little bit of time before SCG9 is able to pick up theirs, but that is not the point right now. Team Ambition Solstice is looking to go for a 22-minute Baron Nashor that is not even considered by Spartan Shields. They're going to pick up a massive power spike here for free.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the worst feelings in the game where you're just minding your own business, trying to figure out where the enemy team goes, and all of a sudden that warning that a big objective has been claimed pops up. The vision was not there. Nima looking to fight Purple mid laner, as speaking of a lack of vision, he was hiding out in that bush.
Yeah, and now, 3 minutes of power for Team Ambition Solstice to keep the snowball going. We talked about this snowball, the chance to be able to get it. It hasn't really ballooned into a insurmountable lead just yet. But the fact that you were able to get Baron Nashor and an extra 1,500 gold, and you're wearing purple for the next 2.5 minutes is pretty impactful. What objectives are they going to be able to get from this? So far, they're clearing out their camps and maybe prepping for a mid lane push. I think that's a big objective if they're able to pick that up.
I definitely agree. I think that you have to be really judicious about how you want to side lane here for the Spartan shields. We've already seen Purple mid laner get caught out quite a bit by pushing up too far, and now that you have this big mob walking into any lane they so please and taking down towers with wild abandon, if you get caught out or even solo killed in the side lane, and in turn the rest of your team is getting demolished in one of these siege situations, you could be giving away the whole game. But Sir Comba's going to walk forward. They're not afraid. We'll get pillared right in the face, so that's going to stop an engage. Oh, but there's the dredge line, or the depth charge to start it off.
Oh my goodness, they just obliterate Thunder McBusters there. Beautiful depth charge from Sir Comet. That is a massive blow against Team Ambition Solstice. They're going to be denied some of that pushing power that they needed to be able to get full effect out of this Baron. And with him down for another 25 seconds, they will not be able to use that Baron buff effectively anymore. Got a minute remaining on it, but this is now a very suitable condition for the Spartan Shields.
Yeah, you need to use the fact that a mid laner is off the map to catch these other waves, ensure no more towers go down, and then in turn rotate over towards that dragon and hope to start a fight in your home turf. Remember, Flame and Shock is on a champion that really loves to be able to set up early, get some traps down, get some zone denial started out, and when combined with champions like the Orianna, you really have the propensity to make that river something very difficult for the side of TAS to stand in. That being said, for the time being, Cole V5 is just going to be walking top and doing troll things, although Purple mid laner may be looking to change that.
Nice Pillar of Frost, once again able to deny any sort of potential either a chase or counter chase. Purple mid laner able to, force Cole V5 out of the situation. He's going to back off right as the Baron buff despawned. So far, for the take for Team Ambition Solstice, it was only 2 towers, so not quite the most effective use of Baron, but with that behind us, now it's the question of the dragon. Team Ambition Solstice is in the river first. They've got control of it for the time being, and it's up now to the Spartan Shields to decide whether or not they want to actually go in for a play or just give Soul Point over to TAS. Brownie not going to be able to land the rocket grab, but those are some very low health bars for the Spartan Shields. Flamin' Shock is down to about 300 HP. He cannot go in anywhere. If he does, he could potentially just immediately die. Nima is on his way back, so this will be a pure 5v5 if the Spartan Shields decide to take it. And with no one going in, they will just see the dragon and actually give a kill over. Purple mid laner getting caught out.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the plan was here for CWRU. You know that it's going to be almost impossible to walk up into River with a Blitzcrank right there, ready to fire their hands at anyone that comes into their vicinity. And also, your main damage dealer is just super low. Speaking of firing hands, there's
oh my goodness! That's a Moonfall. That's so much damage there. Grand Poly's going to go golden, but he couldn't quite pick up any kills. He's trying to survive, but he can't quite get it. That was a near perfect initiation from the Spartan Shields, but they don't quite have enough damage as Jags Money. He picks up the kill on to Flamin' Shock. That is 4 members of the Spartan Shields down. Team Ambition Solstice is looking to push forward. They're going to be able to get the inhibitor tower. They're going to be able to get to the inhibitor. Do they go for any more? Nope, they back off.
Yeah, a bunch of really bad decisions kind of made sequentially for CWRU means that they are going to continue to hemorrhage gold and lose their presence on the map here. I do like that engage as you were talking about, Moose. I think that Grand Poly made a really solid call to go for the best ultimate they possibly could have had. But it's similar to what we talked about in last game, that theme of making big plays, but those plays coming way too darn late really becomes salient here, as that Diana will just fall without securing one back.
Yeah, that's real rough here. I think the Spartan Shield's now down by 8k, giving Dragon Soul Point over to TAS as well as several kills. They are behind the back foot here as we move into the almost 30-minute mark. You know, they haven't lost this game yet, but going and winning this game from a 9,000 gold deficit will be a, you know, Herculean effort in order to actually make that a reality. Baron up in 10 seconds, so they do have clearing and vision on it, so we'll have to see if they can actually contest it.
Yeah, for once, they're going to be the first ones into the river here, and that may help turn the tide a little bit. The Hex Flash over the wall starting.
Comet, though, trying to find the dredge line onto Jags Money. They do so much damage onto Jags Money. He gets taken out by Grand Poly. As we get a teleport now coming in from Nima. Does the rest of Spartan Shield get out of it? The Showstopper doesn't really deal a lot of damage, but it's enough to take down Grand Poly. The Shockwave's going to get 2 into a lot of damage. Purple mid laner is the next target as Sir Comet does go down. Flash from Thunder McBusters will pick up another kill, and Brownie is looking to move forward to try to get the rocket grab. He can't quite get it, but with 3 members down for Spartan Shields, Team Ambition Solstice is looking to end the game. A teleport from Thunder McBuster is going to be able to get the laser onto Flamin' Shock. Brownie will pick up their first and potentially only kill of the game. It's going to be a lot of damage now onto FCG9. She'll be able to run away, but that is the game and the win for Team Ambition Solstice. They will take this to a game 3. They will keep their playoff chances alive.
And what chances they are. They made the case that they are willing to stay in this one for one more. Incredibly solid. We talked about domination in the first one, Moose, for the side of CWRU, but honestly, we see TAS answering back with a game of similar caliber right there, and similar misplays coming through for the Spartan Shields.
And I mean, what a game and what a series to watch. Both Spartan Shields and Team Ambition Solstice know how important this game is, and both of them have been able to have phenomenal early games in the games that they've won in this series. Now, it all comes down to this. Game number 3 is going to determine who makes it further in the play-ins and who is eliminated here in the Aegis Guardians League. I have to shout out Brownie. Well done on the Blitzcrank. 1-0-11 to end his stat line. Flawless game for him, putting in so much work with those rocket grabs and just continuing to be effective.
Yeah, for sure, Moose. I really am excited to see what both teams will bring to this table in this last one. There's a lot of reflection to be had. We see the side of TA Solstice really coming back strong and putting their past behind them in a way. And we'll see if CWRU Spectre Shields will be able to do the same for themselves. Hopefully, this game 3 will be one that isn't quite as swingy. I want to see drama all the way to the very end. I want to see closeness. And I want to see a true banger.
And I think that we will see it. But before we do, we're going to take a quick break, jumping into game number 3 right after. This is your coverage of the Aegis Guardians League. We'll be right back, folks.
Everybody, panic! Hold on. I'm about to say something really cool. 3, 41, 9, and lift off! No one dies screaming without me. I feel like I forgot to shoot something. You're starting to bore me. She's such a loser, always ready to cry. Ah, come on. What's the worst that could happen?
Welcome back, everybody. Well, this has been a phenomenal series so far here in the Aegis Guardians League. The Spartan Shields up against Team Ambition Solstice are definitely going the distance as we jump into our last game of this series. CWRU Spartan Shields are picking the blue side as we move into game 3. Nyarko, I really don't have to say how excited we are as we move into this one, but, any thoughts as we move into game 3?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts for sure, Moose.
Oh, a lot
Maybe
of
too
thoughts.
many.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. And I'm sure you do too. But the first thing that comes to my mind is that both of these teams really excel at playing ahead and really struggle when playing behind. I think that it just kind of gets into both of their minds that maybe if they are set back a few kills that they need to try to play a little bit more drastically, a little bit more aggressively, or they don't shift their game plan enough to accommodate for the fact that the other team is just going to be winning a lot of these fights. So with that in mind, I think that one of the game plans you can watch out for is just for both teams to draft pretty early game comps and just try to vie and wrestle for an early gold lead and some control over the map.
And right now, it is going to be pretty much, I think, similar bans. Some respect bans, I think, actually, from the Spartan Shields have started game 3. The Ezreal and the Trundle are going to not be available for the side of Team Ambition Solstice. That does mean that the Trendemir and the Lilia, which have been banned out in games 1 and 2, could potentially be on the table here as we move into game 3.
100%. Those respect bans, as you're talking about, Moose, really being the name of the game. It really changed how we saw draft number 2 go through, and I think that is going to persist here in round number 3. That Trindamere a little bit more standard, but once again, the memories of that Veigar for TA Solstice is going to allow for them to ban it once again, and we get a pretty echoed choice here. This time, CWRU is finally going to get FCG9 onto their main, onto the Victor.
Yeah, Team Ambition Solstice saying, it's the lesser of two evils for them, not allowing the Veigar, which was so powerful in game 1. I don't know if that's going to be the right call, though. There is definitely a difference in games played for FCG9 between the Vigar and the Victor, and so giving the Victor might actually work out into the Spartan Shield's favor, but Jag's Money now going to be able to pick up the Caitlyn, something that he hasn't been able to play in games 1 and 2 because it was taken by Flame and Shock. Now going to have that available here for game 3. That being said, though, there are some pretty prominent mid lane and jungle champions still on the table. One of them is going to be locked in here for Thunder McBuster. It's the Vex.
Oh yeah, the Vex is something that is just really strong right now, in my opinion. I think it's actually a very underrated pick, even in a coordinated competitive setting. Those ultimate resets just allow for you to operate first as a backline artillery style mage before kind of converting yourself over into this one-shotting team fighting monster. And when tied to a champion like a Lilia, where once a sleep is landed and you're able to just kind of hop in and do damage, you could be a real threat on the Rift. Xin Zhao, meanwhile, going to be the choice for the Spartan Shields here, and we will see Purple mid laner return to the Shen.
I think Purple mid laner played the Shen fairly well. You know, he did get a little bit behind in the beginning of the game, but his Stand Uniteds were on point, and it's going to be very, very impactful if he's able to land them on the champions that are getting hit by the Lilting Lullaby or the Shadow Surge. So if he's able to use it effectively, it's something that the Spartan Shields will be able to use as an asset for them. Now, supports are both still not chosen for either team, and so we are actually seeing support bans get picked out here. Thresh and Leona not available.
We've been seeing an interesting pick ban order from both CWRU and TAS in all the games so far, and that is going to persist through the final round, Moose. Most of what we've been seeing recently has been a jungler alongside the bot laner and the support grabbed in the first set, but right now we get this kind of rotating cast of characters where the mid lane is so hotly contested that it is them plus a jungler and one bot laner typically picked up. CWRU, though, going the full opposite direction, though, this time around. They got to pick both their support and their ADC this time.
Yeah, the support pool is very limited here in game 3. All of the 3 prominent support picks that these two players play are not available. The Thresh, the Blitzcrank, and the Leona. Team Ambition Solstice is going to go back to the Nautilus here for Brownie. I wasn't particularly impressed with Brownie's performance in game 1, but he's looking to redeem himself after a highlight game 2 on the Blitzcrank. But the Spartan Shields still lock in a pretty powerful duo in the Braum Lucian.
Yeah, for sure. I love Braum, actually, and it's something that we've been seeing it picked with a little bit more contestation recently. I think that with a champion like Lucian or Jinx, who is able to really stack Braum passive up quickly, you can get some really clutch stuns down and in turn isolate big players on the side of Team Ambition Solstice. So it's definitely a selection I like to see, and the Xin Zhao plus Lucian really reading towards that early game plan that I talked about as being a high priority if you want to win in this series.
I think so. You know, the early game has been so powerful for both teams as they've won their respective games. Neither one of them has been able to come back from a deficit. They've just let the snowball continue to pass through. But Team Ambition Solstice is now looking to play towards the mid to late game. They've got the Malphite. The Shard of the Monolith is going to be on the table here for game 3. The X factor, I think, for this fight. If he's able to land a massive unstoppable force, it can mean the difference between winning and losing at these crucial neutral objectives.
Yeah, for sure. I love Malphite, honestly. I know it's kind of memed as the standard auto-filled top laner pick, Moose, but at the same time, this is a champion that as long as you play it well and as long as you stay back, farm up, and get tanky, you can really begin to dictate the pace of the games with the judicious use of your unstoppable force. Nima has been playing a variety of champions this time around. We saw them on the set, we saw them on their Aurelia, and now let's see them on a tank.
Yeah, he's gone from carry to bruiser to tank. He's the one that's evolved the most, I think, throughout the series.
Bulking up.
And bulked up, exactly. You know, he's now going to be able to be, I think, really impactful here. And it's a good response to the Shen as well. You know, if Shen uses Stand United, Malphite is able to deny the presence of the Shen with Unstoppable Force. He can stun him out of it, or he can teleport in himself and then come in with the Unstoppable Force to be just as impactful as the Shen. But there's also knockup and counter initiation here for the Spartan shields. You've got the Stand United and the Glacial Fissure to be able to deny whatever initiation Team Evish and Solstice are trying to go for. So, the plays at these neutral objectives, I think, are going to be where it's at in Game 3.
100%. I think that what the theme of these last two games has been big plays before neutral objectives really come through, and in turn one team just getting a dominant position in the river to grab either the Rift Herald or the Dragon. What I'd like to see this time is a little bit more contestation of vision early. I want to see faster rotations into those spots, and in turn I want to see both teams actually try to grab objectives as the name of the game rather than seeing them as outcomes that come from making plays and getting kills across the map.
And well, I mean, this game is, for all the marbles, and all the stops have been available to them. We've got Colv5 on his most played jungler as the Lilia. We've got FCG9 as his most played mid laner, the Victor, as well as some other great champions, and a great team composition, I think, for both sides of the Rift. It's going to be a banger of a game number 3. You guys do not want to miss it. This is AGL Play-Ins Week 1. We'll be right back, folks. Welcome back, everybody, to the Aegis Guardians League. My name is Moose, and I am joined here by Niarco. And as we move into round and game 3, both of these teams are looking to be able to keep their chances of a playoff spot alive.
Yeah, everything is on the line in this one, and we see both teams grouping as 5. The fight's going to start here with the flash forward.
Comet's going to go in for the flash. A beautiful flee there from Thunder McBusters is going to be able to deny any further play as we get a lot of damage now onto Comet. Comet is very low, but he can't fall. Grant Polly is in trouble as well. Nobody is dying just yet, but a massive play. Once again, first blood onto Brownie and another root on Flamin' Shock.
Flamin' Shock.
Disaster for the Spartan Shields.
I'm not sure about the flash Q on Braum of all champions to start a fight off. It's not necessarily the best engaged tool you got, given how much you have to put in order to make sure that that stun procs. And when you're up against Brownie on that Nautilus, we've seen what they could do on those hook champs here, and things are starting off with a bang for Solstice. Sorry, I almost said TA Spectre. Too many TASs.
You know, I wanna point out now, you know, how devastating this, you know, that level 1 was for Spartan Shields. Flamin' Shock, no summoner spells. Comet, no flash. Grand Poly, no flash. The only summoner spell used by Team Ambition Solstice was the Ignite from Brownie. That is about as good as you can get as a level 1 engage for Team Ambition Solstice. And, you know, that's something that we don't see in higher level plays. Like, had that happened in LCS, the game might just be over at that point.
The game might still be over. It'll be interesting to see how this red team will push their advantage here. TAS has got a long ways to go, but they have all the tools in their pocket to try to make this early game a banger for themselves.
I mean, and it's going to be up to them to be able to keep up the momentum. We've seen that the leader in the early game has been the leader throughout the match. And so, you know, can Team Ambition Solstice keep that track record going and get themselves a Game 3 victory after Game 1 went so poorly for them? They were able to bounce back in Game 2 and now have a lead of 1,000 gold at less than 3 minutes here in Game 3. You get an extra long, so you get extra damage and extra health on to Brownie with the Ruby Crystal. You get boost for Thunder McBuster, and now you have a chance to really show off here in Game 3 as they just continue to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, and as we look at this bot lane dynamic, it's not only the fact that this matchup is becoming more skewed in favor of Brownie on the Nautilus due to the extra health, but hang on for a second, we got some fights up topside.
Colby5 going to get taunted by purple mid laner, but is now potentially in trouble. Going to flash away from Grant Polly as Nima is now the target. That gank was not going to work out. A beautiful swirl seed. Beautiful swirl seed from Colby5.
Yeah, that swirl seed right there, the Lily, just allowing for Nima to leisurely walk back towards tower. That turns into a 0-for-0 top lane, although a summoner spell or two had been burned in turn. But as I was kind of saying, for this bot lane matchup, one of the things to note is that Brownie, even if you end up getting stunned by Braum passive, it usually means that you've already done your job. Remember, your utility is pretty darn front-loaded. All you really got to do is hit that Q to go in and get that CC chain started.
Looking at the mid lane, though, Thunder McBuster did have to flash to get away from a gank from Grand Poly, so evening out these summoner spells a little bit here. Thankfully, that last play, you know, not working out for Colby5 and the top lane. Here in the top lane a little earlier, not going to result in any kills as we start to potentially get our first resets of the match. Seeing where Jags Money wants to use the extra assist gold that he got. At the moment, though, we could potentially be seeing a little bit of counter jungling. Grand Poly is going to try to go for that Gromp. Will get seen by Colby5 and now looking to be able to potentially combat him there. Stun's going to land on Brownie. The Dredge Line's going to land on to Flamin' Shock. The Ignite is there. Brownie picking up his second kill of the game and a root on to Sir Comet is going to also be in trouble. Thunder McBuster is looking to be able to get the Ignite and the kill onto FCG9. Doesn't have the flash to finish it off. So a bunch of low health bars. Oh my goodness. Almost dying there. FCG9 having to flash away.
Wow, things really are shaping up in favor of TAS even after that initial brunt of force grab them some kills. They're looking to really push that advantage and just go deeper on into this one. Colv5 using the time to counter jungle, and Brownie in the area to ensure that Grand Poly doesn't have a way in onto the deer. And this is kind of what I was talking about, Moose, especially with this bot lane matchup that I've been focusing on. Brownie just has the health to tank through stuns, and as soon as they are back up, they're ready to tear up the rift once more. They're able to just immediately drop the hook down. It went on to Sir Comet, but Flame and Shock was soon to follow, and they passed away as well. That bowling ball will not hit this time in the mid lane. But overall, things are looking pretty dicey as that gold lead has ballooned. It is now at about 1.5k.
Yeah, and that is a pretty scary back for Jags money. Caitlyn now with a Noon Quiver and an extra Crit Cloak is going to be, way in the lead against Flame and Shock right now, whose summoner spells are back up. But that is such a difference in just power here for Jags money that he could potentially be the impactful ADC that propels Team Ambition Solstice into an early win. Looking at the rest of the Rift, though, they won't be able to stop this dragon take. They're going to see that the Scribe's Bloom will reveal that the dragon is very low, and Grand Poly going to be able to pick up that dragon at the 6.5 minute mark.
Yeah, for sure. Grand Poly's going to have a lot on their plate once they get this back off. You got to really start looking for ganks on this Xin Zhao. You're already getting heavily outfarmed by Colv5 on this Lilia, and the fact that you have yet to been able to make a successful play across the map sends to me a little bit of a message of doom for the blue team here. Spartan Shields really going to have to play aggressive to get back into this one.
Right now, that is the aggressive play that they want. Cloud Drake is taken. Ocean Drake will be up in 420. Blaze it, as the cool kids say. But I want to ask you, the prediction here. Are we going to get an Infernal Soul, a Mountain Soul, or a Hextech Soul for Game 3?
Ooh, I always get them wrong whenever you put these onto me, Moose, I gotta say. But I think that I personally would like to see a Hextech Soul. I think that the Hex Gates would be really, really fun and synergize well with the champions we see. Some of these immobile mid laners would really like it as just a way to expedite their process of getting back and across the map. But also, I think that you could have some really creative Deathbush plays around people utilizing these gates, especially if one team gets a lot of vision in the enemy's jungle. We do have Colv5 on the lane gank duty bot side of the map. We'll see what this turns into.
Unfortunately, it is seen, that this is something that won't be available to them, as Sir Comet, though, is going to potentially get seen by Thunder McBusters, as they do potentially maybe go in for a 4-man dive on a Flame and Shock and to Sir Comet. They instead decide, hey, let's not go for that play, and they back off.
Yeah, and for the time being, I think we're seeing the correct level of defensiveness come out for Spartan Shield. They know that they are down a nice chunk of gold, and they're just going to have to farm it up until an opportunity presents itself. A lot of counter jungling occurring on the top side of the map because of where Colv5 spent their time recently, and hopefully that'll get Xin Zhao back into this one a little bit. They're already catching up on that CS count, and they may rotate top to go for a little bit of a play.
Yeah, I really appreciate the counter jungling there from Grand Poly. They knew that Colv5 was in the bottom side of the rift, and that's what you want to see, that proactive macro play. Not revealing on the side of Spartan Shields that they knew that Colv5 was there, but still being able to get something out of it there. Grand Poly picks up that red buff and is, now in the lead CS-wise, looking to be able to go for the Rift Herald. Can't quite get it. I don't think this is quite a risky play, I feel. Does have priority in the top lane, so purple mid laner will be able to get some assistance, but Colv5 can just drop the bowling balls, get some damage onto Grand Poly, and could still potentially go in for a play here. Watch the river, see if the Rift Herald's going to get taken by Grand Poly, as Colv5 looking to be able to get some damage on to Sir Comet and on to FCG9. Won't be able to stay in the river, and instead, that is Rift Herald take for Grand Poly.
Really nice play. I know it was risky, Moose, and I was right there with you about that. Probably not possible for this side of Spartan Shields, but they managed to make it work. Great rotations, and I think the fact that so many people were level 6, it kind of messed up the value calculus of a lot of these plays. Oh, but speaking of value calculus, Grand Poly going deep in here to try to fight the Nautilus.
Oh, shutdown. Brownie will get denied. Thunder McBuster's gonna have to flash away from the Glacial Fissure and will lose out on that Summoner spell.
And all of a sudden, that gold has closed back up a little bit, and with that Rift Herald in hand, I think that that will start to push this game a little bit back towards even. Really good utilization of just a single showing of Lilia bot side of the map, translating that into big counter jungles, Grand Poly catching up in CS, and in fact exceeding expectations by passing up that deer and grabbing a Rift Herald in turn. They're going to drop here in the mid lane.
Yeah, now it's up to Team Ambition Solstice to keep up with that early level 1 that they were able to get. Rift Herald, like you said, getting dropped in the mid lane will give some gold over to SCG9 and Grand Poly to keep them just in the lead gold-wise a little bit more. But, you know, now with this stalling from Team Ambition Solstice, I mean, what is the play here? Do you go for the dragon? Do you try to go up in gold? Because, I mean, right now you have pretty much stalled.
Yeah, similar to what I've said before a lot, Moose, River Control is name of the game, and Solstice looks like they're going to set up quite early for this dragon. Or not super early, but at least well before this side of the Spartan Shields decides to go into River. And what that means is you're already getting those traps down, and you have a lot of big playmaking ultimates up right here. Lilting Lullaby for Cole V5 can really turn this one around. And with that in mind, I like the fact that they decided to go for this dragon. They know, as you said before, that they were stalling out, so this may be the play to help turn things around. There's a Swirl Seed going down, and Sleep Dust already on 2 of them, and there it goes.
Yeah, Wilting Lullaby into the Shadow Surge. Thunder McBusters is left all alone, and Grant Poly picks up the Ocean Drake, making it a 1-for-1 play. Brownie is in trouble, extremely low. The Swirl Seed gets flashed by Comet.
Oh my
what
gosh.
a flash! And that is disaster for Team Ambition Solstice.
The sleep went down. You had 2 people waiting in the wings right there just to be beaten up on, and Thunder McBuster saw the opportunity, rode their ultimate in, but Cole V5 left the area to start that dragon up. I don't know about that call. A little bit of a miscommunication, and in turn that will even up that score for kills, but now there's a 1k gold lead in the reverse order. CWRU now going to be able to stack a second dragon, and they're looking to push this game further in their direction.
Yeah, I mean, that is about as bad as it could go for Team Ambition Solstice. Not only do you give up the dragon, now it's a Mountain Soul and Rift here for Spartan Shields, as they've already stacked up the Drakes, but you give now 3 kills over to FCG9, has a 7-stack Dark Seal, and all of that early game, that early snowball that you could have potentially gotten is out the window, and now you're really in a tough spot here if you're Team Ambition Solstice because of just one error in judgment, looking to be able to make a play here.
The Dredge line!
On to FCG9, a lot of damage, but the Stand United comes back in. Grand Poly's going to be able to pick up a kill onto Thunder McBusters, and now looking to even turn that play around. Brownie is in trouble as FCG9 now goes on a rampage.
I wanted a close game, Moose, and I don't know if we're going to get it anymore. Things were looking pretty bright for the side of the Solstice, but now things really turned around. I like the plays that they're going for, but the rotations coming out, the utilization of Stand United, and the engages are all just too much to deal with, and Spartan Shields going to grab 2 more kills for themselves and put on another 1,000 gold in their lead.
I mean, we're really seeing why FCG9 has so many games played, and or what the payment is for so many games played on Victor. You're in a position now where you are on your most comfortable champion and you're performing well as it. 10-stack Dark Seal, Luden's Tempest now online. It's gonna be a really tough situation here that Thunder McBusters hasn't really been able to to face off against, because he's behind by almost 30 CS. He's now behind by 3 kills. It's going to have to result in, some desperate plays once again from Solstice to keep this game alive. Maybe they're going to go for a play up against purple mid laner, going to be able to find some damage onto the Shen. Colby5 looking to be able to find the Lilting Lullaby, and does, but do they even try to get this kill? They don't have enough damage quite yet. They're looking to be able to finish it off, and they do. Colby5 does get up a good pick.
One more spin to win, not of the classic Garen or Tryndamere sort, but it still will work to pick up a kill here for the side of TAS, and I really like how they continue to push the issue up there. Sure, that Shen was tanky, but this is one of the lanes that's a little bit more even at the end of the day. In regards to mid, it's going to be so difficult to get anything done against FCG9, who has just power spiked so darn hard right now on both those Mercury treads for defensive purposes alongside a Luden's Echo. Meanwhile, that Vex trailing really heavily by about 30 or so CS, as well as a whole item or completed boots. I think right now where you need to look is that top side, as we just saw, but also towards that Caitlyn, who is maintaining a pretty high CS advantage over the Lucian and already has that Gale Force completed.
And is that win condition going to be enough to give the victory still over to Team Ambition Solstice? They do catch out Sir Comet at the river and will be able to pick up a nice pickup there. About 40 seconds remaining until Dragon spawns. And will they be able to find anything else? I mean, Dragon is probably going to be the neutral objective that they want to take to stop any sort of Dragon stacking for the Spartan Shields. But Sir Comet will be up back in time, and there's still a chance that the Spartan Shields can contest this.
Yeah, 100%. I think that this is the objective that you go for both sides, and I would like to see a fight restarted here. It's the same kind of note as before. The gold lead isn't too far in one direction. Before things spiral out of control, this is your time to try to assert yourself and get back into it. You have Stand United up for Shen now, so with that in mind, Nima is going to either have to look for a solid teleport or try to back and get into the area pretty quickly here. And we have a little bit of a death bush forming. That advantage in terms of getting the vision line established and set up over the river begun. We'll go over to TAS and we'll see how they use that.
Yep, right now, what will they be able to do? They do reveal themselves in the bot lane, so no death brush. Thunder McBusters is caught out away from the rest of the squad. Is going to have to go in for a very tough flank in order to get back in with everybody else. Remember, the win condition in these team fights is the Lilting Lullaby into those Shadow Surges to get that ton of damage and that massive CC chain. We've got the traps dropping. We got the Dragon spawned. We've got Sir Comet trying to be able to go forward and maybe initiation of a play. A lot of damage onto Sir Comet as the Glacial Fissure does land into the Unstoppable Force from Nima, but no fall. Nima is all alone as we get a lot of damage onto Grand Paul. He's going to be ignited, going to flash away. Purple mid lane is going to be able to take down Jag's money. The Shadow Surge completely whiffing here as there's no extra follow-up. Brownie will fall, and once again at the team fight stage, Team Ambition Solstice collapses.
Yeah, Solstice really need to communicate a little bit better or just be more aligned in their approach to these team fights, Moose. That's the second time that we've seen a big ultimate just not get followed up on properly. First time through, it was the Lilting Lullaby, and this time it was the Unstoppable Force not allowing for them to grab a kill. We get 3 dragons now and 3 more kills over to CWRU. And now that gold lead all of a sudden is a lot more daunting once more.
And this is, this is where I think, Flamin' Shock still has power as the Lucian. You're now mid-game and you've got Relentless Pursuit probably completely unlocked. You've got a lot of, mobility with the Gale Force as well. Your Piercing Light is going to deal damage. So things are really, really looking up here for Spartan Shields, especially because this team fighting composition that Solstice has built hasn't actually resulted in a successful team fight. They've got 3 massive point and click ultimates that will essentially guarantee CC for Thunder McBusters to land, and they haven't found it just yet. I'm really trying to figure out where Team Ambition Solstice goes in from this if they can't team fight.
I think that the problem is that they're just going to have to keep burger flipping these fights, Moose, because that is their point of advantage. Maybe if we get a little bit more vision control back onto the map here and we get another death push that actually works out this time, you can start the fight with a huge tempo advantage. So even if people are a little bit discordant, it won't matter to the same extent. But for the time being, they're going to have to play on the back foot, wait for this dragon to spawn, or wait for a play to be made around Baron. We see Brownie clearing up toward top side of the map. Braum gonna rotate as well into the area, and we'll see now. The death push is in fact on the other foot.
River control for Spartan Shields at Baron. It's very early, I think, for a potential Baron take, but you do now have bounties for the side of Solstice. Thunder McBusters is looking to go in for the Shadow Surge against Flaming Shock. Flaming Shock is in trouble. Ignite is going to be used, and there it is. Flash having to get expended, though, in order to pick up that kill.
That is one of the weak points that we're seeing for CWRU right now. Lucian wasn't able to play as aggressively as they wanted early on due to the advantage that Brownie grabbed in the bot side of the lane. Although Thunder McBuster is going to be harassed a little bit here. I don't think that we're going to be able to see a full engage from the Xin Zhao, though. Meanwhile, top side of the map, big clustering of TAS members here. We'll see what kind of play they're looking to make.
And just trying to clear out some vision, it looks like. They're going to be able to also get priority in the mid lane.
No way.
Mid-tier 1 tower was taken, and, you know, your no way is doubled down with my no way. Team Ambition Solstice is going for another Baron. This one will get sniffed out from Sir Comet, but they saw that FCG9 was in the bottom side of the rift, and now they're looking to potentially be able to clear out this Baron before the rest of Spartan Shields arrives. We've already got the Glacial Fissure getting used. We've got a lot of damage on to Sir Comet. Sir Comet is in trouble, and they will be able to pick up that kill. And with 3,000 health remaining, Baron gets denied. Unstoppable Force is going to be used on the purple mid laner along with the Dredge line, but Nima is going to have to try to survive. Jags Money will pick up that kill. That is 2 for Team Ambition Solstice. Now, can they get out of it? Grand Poly and Flame and Shock, as well as FCG9 are looking to go forward. That's a shutdown. FCG9 is unstoppable. So much damage and so much momentum, CC, from that, that Crescent Guard. Flame and Shock is going to be able to pick up Brownie, and ends up being a 2 for 2 so far. Jags Money is very low, but will be able to back off.
There are so many points in which my analyst brain, Moose, made me think, oh yeah, now that we've had 2 people die, there's no way that we're going to see the re-engage come through for the Spartan Shields, but they did it, and clearly they knew something more than me, because they managed to grab 2 in the 3v5 virtually. Sure, maybe the positioning wasn't the best for Solstice, but the fact that they were denied a Baron as well as losing 2 of their own is just a nightmare scenario to be in. I love the initiative. I love the call. They knew that they had some vision control, but it just wasn't enough to dictate the pace of the game, unfortunately. And now they're once again going to have to try to walk in on a dragon.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about this later, but, like, that was a very ambitious play that didn't necessarily work out. Dragon is up in 12 seconds. River control for nobody just yet. It is contested. Purple mid laner does have Stand United, so once again, we could potentially see a very scary teamfight situation for either side. Nima still has Unstoppable Force. V5 does not have Lilting Lullaby, nor is Shadow Surge online, so Glacial Fissure is going to be used on Nima. Nima's going to use Unstoppable Force, a lot of damage, as the Stand United going to be able to get used. Does it get used in time? Purple mid laner does come in, and Crescent Guard as well. It's a 1v1. Thunder McBusters falls.
Oh,
that's
no.
2. That's 3 for the Spartan Shields V2. Jags Money is now the target. Can he fall? He will fall. It ends up being 4 for 2 in favor of Spartan Shields.
And that will be a soul. No dragons taking them off tempo this time. They're going to grab one at 24 minutes. That is very scary to go up against, as this team is already taking a lot of punishment. Oh, and there's the Lilia, just add insult to injury. An ace, in fact, alongside the dragon.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate, I think, for Team Ambition Solstice once again. They get caught in these fights at neutral objectives, and they just can't finish the job. Mountain Soul, that's going to be the extra shield on top of the resistances that you gain for Spartan Shields here at the 25-minute mark. I mean, what's the win condition now for Solstice if they want to come back from this one?
I think that it's going to have to be a combination of vision control, dictation, and solid picks. We saw FCG9 go down early on in that fight over the Dragon Moose, and in turn, we actually saw some kills finally trickle back over to the side of TAS. So if you can just grab him before a fight, I think that is almost an automatic push towards the Baron, and in turn, maybe a ticket back into a victory. But right now, that is only going to be a more and more difficult reality to enact. That gold lead is not going anywhere. In fact, it's only getting bigger. And now with hindsight, when I look at that early game, I think to myself, yeah, sure, those kills did go over early to TAS, but look who they went on, Brownie, and all they did was rush Locket of the Iron Solari faster, which at the end of the day, it may not be the best allocation of resources here. Maybe if we saw Jags Money grab those kills early on and turbo themselves into something like that Gale Force a little bit faster, they wouldn't be sitting at 2 and 3 right now, and the solution would not be sitting at 5 and 3 in turn.
And with the Baron on the line, Team Ambition Solstice knows that a Baron take here for Spartan Shields might actually just spell certain doom here, as they look to potentially get a play onto Grand Poly. The depth charge, the damage from the Crescent Shield actually going to keep this Xin Zhao alive. I can't believe it. Another misplay from Team Ambition Solstice is 4 kills. I actually shouldn't say a misplay. That was a beautiful Crescent Guard from Grand Poly.
It's what we talked about before, Moose. It has now happened in all 3 games. Great engage. I love the fact that so much CC went down on the Xin Zhao, and they looked so caught out. But they were 2-2, and before that, they were like 2-2 and 13 before that? And all of a sudden, they go up to 2-2 and 16. They had the gold income, and with so much damage being dropped, with that flank coming through for Flame and Shock, I mean, you needed to take that fight 10 minutes ago, frankly.
And now Baron is secured for the Spartan Shields. You have to think that at almost 8K gold lead, 9K gold lead, in fact, for them, that this game is just about complete. That Crescent Guard was probably one of the best Xin Zhao Crescent Guards that I have seen from a gold player ever. You mitigated all of the damage that Team Ambition Solstice was trying to go for. You denied the immediate pick that you tried to make, and you also displaced Team Ambition Solstice. You made it impossible for them to be able to come through, as we get a little bit of a CC onto Flame and Shock, a lot of CC onto Flame and Shock. That is a nice big shutdown here for Jags Money. Thunder McBuster's now caught out all alone, will end up falling to make it a 1-for-1 play ADC for mid laner. With 4 members still with Baron, they're looking to be able to push forward to this mid lane.
A lot of ultimates also utilized in order to take down Flame and Shock. We had both the depth charge used alongside Vex ultimate, and what that means is that the counter engage potential during the siege is going to be drastically reduced for TAS. They're going to have to look for something like Lilting Lullaby onto multiple people in order to work as D-push or engage here. And when you have something like FCG9 sitting in the backline dropping all the damage in the world, it's just going to be hard to prevent these towers from falling.
FCG9 back again with 10 stacks on that Dark Seal. The outer and inner towers are now gone in the bot and mid lane. Purple mid laner is just continuing to push forward to that inhibitor turret. It's now down to about 2/3 HP, as it looks like pings are going towards the last inner structure, the last structure for Team Ambition Solstice outside of their base. That inner tower is not long for this world. We got about 50 seconds remaining on the Baron for the Spartan Shields, and then the next play is going to be towards that Elder Drake. That is a game-ending neutral objective that will be available at the 30.5-minute mark. Question is, will we finally see Team Ambition Solstice be able to take it?
I'm not sure if they're going to be able to. Even if you land all the ultimates in the world, we see that everyone on CWRU is comfortable with how their champion plays and handles, and I think that they could easily scatter to the wind, prevent too many people from getting slept, getting too many people from getting chain engaged on, or getting a depth charge dropped onto one of their carries. If they're able to carry themselves well and confidently as they have been doing so far here, they can just kind of sit on that 10k gold advantage and just use that to brute force their way through fights.
And this is a little bit of a macro error, I think, for Team Ambition Solstice. Instead of going back and picking up Vision, they just go straight into the river with no control wards. The only member that's going to have any sort of vision is going to be Nima with one control ward and that vision ward, so they won't actually be able to see where the Spartan shields are at once this dragon spawns. And that's going to, I think, be a big determining factor here for the way that this fight plays out, because now they don't have that vision control. Brownie's going to get caught out all alone, going to get caught out by the traps. And now Grand Poli is going in with another beautiful Crescent Guard, having the Stand United getting used. It is a slaughter. Team Ambition Solstice is not long for this world. 4 deaths to nothing. Elder Drake is theirs, and you have to think that is GGWP. Spartan Shields not even going to go for the Drake. They're just going to end the game.
A little bit of confusion right there. It looks like some people were trying to back, but I think with this huge wave crashing bot side, this is just going to be the game all zipped up and sealed for the Spartan Shields. And this is exactly what I was talking about, Moose, in terms of how to play out a team fight. We got a big sleep for Cole V5. They managed to get, did everyone maybe on the team hit by Lilting Lullaby? But at that point, you already had Crescent Guard came out. You already saw Brownie fall, and the damage was just there. They take inhibitor and rotate back towards this Elder Dragon. I'm not really sure about that call, as we do see members of the red team getting back up, and they're going to try to walk right back into this one.
I don't even think that they can try to go for it. A massive gravity well from FCG9 is going to be able to stop Nima or Brownie from being able to even contest it. There's the Elder Drake coming through. Kaboom goes the dynamite. Brownie and Nima will fall for their efforts. It was all for folly. And with the Elder Drake up, the rest of Spartan Shields are looking to just end the game. Grand Paul is going to flash forward, going in for the Crescent Guard. Colby 5 is going to be the target. Elder Drake is so close to taking that, and a massive culling will take down Jag's money. The second inhibitor of this game is going to fall. It's up to Thunder McBuster and Colby 5 to keep Team Ambition Solstice alive. Shadow Surge is not up, but Lilting Lullaby is. The Elder Drake is going to be the play. Brownie is back up. He's going to get the root onto Grand Poly, but he's going to get bursted down once again, thanks to the Elder Drake. The Lilting Lullaby will come through. It'll be a shutdown onto Grand Poly, but now the Nexus is exposed. What a great unstoppable force onto all 4 remaining members, but it will not be enough. Your Spartan Shields are going to be heading on to week 2 of the play-ins.
Great game, great mental fortitude, honestly. Making sure that that early disastrous attempt at an invade didn't fully punish the team and put them behind far enough for them to never claw it back. They stayed strong and they found kills where they could. And in turn, all it took was a few mistakes, and that snowball got rolling yet again for a 3rd time in this series, Moose.
Yeah, unfortunately for the side of Team Ambition Solstice, they never were able to get their team fight correct, and it results in just misplay after misplay after misplay after misplay at neutral objectives. They never got off on the right foot after they got into the team fight phase, and it ends up resulting in a loss here for to Team Ambition Solstice. They are eliminated from the play-in stage. They might still be playing next week, but regardless of whether or not they win or lose, they will not be making it into the playoffs. So effectively, Team Ambition Solstice has been eliminated. However, it is up to the CWRU Spartan Shields to keep their chances of a playoff run alive. They will have to win in week 2 to make that happen. Don't go anywhere, folks. I think we're going to see if we can try to get an interview lined up here. Let's see if we can make that happen. Give us just a second before we get that coming through. But, I mean, Yarko, any final thoughts about the series before we get into that?
I think that a lot of the calls and analysis that we made early on, Moose, ultimately came through to still stand as the evident truth of the game. Once an advantage was had, we saw teams making increasingly risky plays to try to pull things back, and most of the times those just got punished by further snowballing. I love how we still get good stacking and good approaches to team fights even when a team is behind. But at the end of the day, you need to be a little bit more judicious early on to ensure that you aren't just throwing more money to the wind. And while both teams ultimately put up a good fight, I am definitely happy to see Spartan Shields walk away with this one. They deserved it, especially given the way that they were able to navigate that game three.
Exactly. I mean, really, really nicely done. It was so disastrous in the early game. I pointed it out. Like in other, higher ranked games, that could have just been GG for them. They might not have been able to come back from that deficit, but they don't actually make it happen, and it ends up still being a CWRU Spartan Shield victory. It does look like we are about ready for an interview here in just a second. I know in chat they're saying, hey, we want to do 4 players on cams. I'm telling you right now, not happening. There's no way. I'm not going to get overwhelmed by four Spartan Shields members, but we will take 1 or 2. We'll see who we decide to get up here in just a moment. But yeah, like I said, it's very important for CW Las Vegas, CWRU Spartan Shields to be able to win here in their next weeks of battles. I don't know what the bracket is going to be just yet, but I can give you some updates on the series that we have played so far. Literal Monkeys Grass did get the guaranteed win against Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby. Crystal Cave Gaming Ruby, of course, forfeiting before these matches started. As well, Mint Rocky Road able to take their win up against Imperial Gaming. All they had to do was win 1 game in order to make it to the playoffs, and there they go, making themselves a playoff berth as well. So congratulations to Mint Rocky Roads. We'll have to see have to see who CWRU Spartan Shields plays up against. But with that being said, Smallcrum, are we moving into another channel, or are we bringing somebody up here? Either way, it looks like we do have somebody ready to go. Grant Polly is going to be the choice. We'll get them up here in just a second. Perfect. All righty, there we go. No break needed. We got Graham Polly here as the interviewee, the jungler for the Spartan Shields. How you doing today?
Not too bad, bro. How are you?
I'm doing well. Really quick before we get into it, have I been saying your name correctly? Is it Graham Polly, or have I been saying it wrong?
It's Grandpa Ali.
Oh my god.
We've been striking out tonight, Moose, when it comes to name pronunciations.
It happens. I could put a space.
Oh man, I'm so sorry, Grandpa Ali. So Ali, I'm assuming is the just the name, correct?
That is correct.
Perfect. Well, hey, congratulations on your victory. It was looking a little dicey there at the beginning of game 3, but you got to show off your Xin Zhao as the with some amazing crescent guards. I want to ask you though, you have a pretty dominant record as Shaco. Do you just like playing off meta picks, or are you just like playing Shaco that much?
I don't think I've ever competitive. Everybody just made nice win. I think I make it meta though. I think you can. Well, I like. Yes.
Hey, Ali, I think we're losing you a little bit on connection. Can you hear me, Arco?
Yeah, I'm also getting the connection issues, unfortunately.
Is this better?
Yeah, that's
How about this?
that sounds a little bit better. Perfect. All right, yeah. I think you're gonna have to repeat your answer. Sorry.
I was honestly just flexing about how good of a Shaco player I am. So
Oh,
spent too much time on it. But
there you go.
yeah, it's a solo queue champ. I like the play style. It always gets banned whenever we have a competitive game, so it's a free ban for us. But yeah, if I could play it, I would.
Yeah, going back over to game one. I mean, you had a phenomenal, I think, Kane game, but it was really, I think, based off of your mid laner support performance as the Vigar FCG9, flawless on the Vigar. What can you say about your mid laner that hasn't been said already in these interviews?
Um, well, with him standing right next to me, I can't talk bad. So
Oh,
I will say that, and I think this goes for, our mid laner Fred and the rest of the team, that we've kind of struggled through um, a lot as a team. We've had a lot of drama. And for us to kind of continue to stick through it and keep our heads in the game week after week, I think is one of the main reasons why we've had this progressive success. Um, and so, big shout out to Fred, Arnav, Zach, and then the other Ali for kind of keeping their heads right.
Yeah, for sure. Keeping that collective mental up is definitely a great pathway forwards. And now that you're still locked in for another week of play, I have to congratulate you on keeping it together and bringing us a really fantastic series. Ali, I was just wondering, given the fact that your playoff life was on the line this week, did that change how your team decided to approach these games or change how you decided to communicate with one another?
Um, I think after seeing that our chances were pretty bleak, um, it kind of, believe it or not, brought us a bit together because um, it was like, as you said, it was a lifeline for us. So this could have been our last game together as a team for the foreseeable future, and so it really brought us together. And even as we went into game three with a one on with it being 1-1, we tried to still have a good time even after the early mishap. We kept a positive attitude, and we were okay with uh, whatever the outcome would be because at the end of the day, it had brought us together. So
fair enough, fair enough. Hey, with that being said, though, like Nyoko said, you guys are moving on to week two of the play-ins. Is there any teams that you're looking forward to potentially rematching from your division, from the Zon division, potentially in the group stages? Is there any sort of preparation that goes into that, or you just come in with a fresh attitude and a good attitude and just try to do the best you can? What's the, I guess, preparation style that the Spartan Shields have?
um, it's kind of like that, grind time mindset that we have. So specific teams, we have teams like OGA, and honestly, everybody that we've lost to, I think was we're kind of just looking to try to play again and smoke them this time around. We were a little shaky at the start of the season. We were just getting things figured out, and now that we have Ethernet plugins and actual keyboards, um, I think we can go pretty far.
For
Yeah,
sure.
that's really great to hear, and we wish you the best of luck in these next few games. We're going to throw it over to a raid into another stream here in just a little bit, but before we close this one out, do you have anyone that you want to shout out?
My entire team once again, Ali, Zach, Fred, Arnav, and um, our coaches, so Jerry and Arden, and our ex top laner, and I think that's pretty much everybody. And you guys are cool.
Yay!
We're okay. We're okay. I do want to ask really quick though. CWRU, is that a university? Is
Yes,
that a
it is a
that is
university. I think
awesome.
we're
So
the
you guys
youngest players here.
really, so you guys
Yeah.
so you guys are actually collegiate esports.
Yeah, we are.
That is honestly so awesome. As somebody who, kind of flexing my age, was part of some of the original collegiate esports organizations in the country back in 2012, 2013. It honestly, brings me really a lot of joy to be able to see that there are not just like major universities, but also just any like other collegiate teams that are out there in gold divisions that are doing stuff. So that's really awesome to see. and really a great boon to esports in general. But with that being said, you guys gave your shout outs. Thank you so much, Grandpa Ollie, for stopping by and enjoying this interview.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. And with that being said, Niarco, any final thoughts before we get out of this?
Not a whole lot. It was an honor to cast with you once again, Moose, and I'm excited to come back next week for more of this gauntlet. This is a really fun format, and I love seeing how these teams are playing under the kind of pressure that we're putting on them. A lot of great stories are being forged here for sure, be it collegiate esports, be it just people trying to make their way through the Aegis Guardians League. You don't want to miss out on any of it.
Exactly. Week 2 of play-ins will be at the same time, same schedule at 5 p.m. PST, 8 p.m. EST. It will be myself, it will be Niarco, and it'll be Simulcrum on the stream. Before we go, though, I want to, guys, shout out Aegis Guardians League, Aegis Esports. If you guys are interested in doing so, please feel free to follow their Twitch channel or subscribe to their Twitch channel, or at the very least, follow their Twitter for any updates on when and where Aegis is performing or on live in the future. If you guys have enjoyed the content that Niarco or myself have put out, you guys can follow me at Moosecaster. You can also follow Niarco at
Niarco LOL.
At Niarco LOL. And of course, thank you so much to our producer and observer, Simulcrum. We could not do it without you. With that being said, on behalf of all the players that we casted for today, the coordinators and the staff at Aegis Esports, Niarco, Simulcrum, and myself, this has been your coverage of the Week 1 play-ins for the Aegis Guardians League. We'll be back again next week, but until then, have a great night, have a great weekend, stay safe, and we'll see you guys all later.